Well, what is going on down in Tennessee? As you all have heard of by now, everyone and their mother has heard about the thought cop, Megan Hall, and how she single-handedly decimated an entire police department all by herself. However, what most of you do not know are the details surrounding how it occurred. And details can be a subjective thing. And tonight, what I'm going to do, I'm going to review a few things because on my other YouTube program last night, I covered some of the details here. I covered the legal details of it. But tonight, I want to cover the social details of it because there's a lot involved here and it can be very easy to get lost. So what I want to do, I want to start with WKRN and their news report so you can hear that she has filed a lawsuit. A lot of you have heard that part. For those of you who are not aware, I'm going to let them go ahead and briefly recap this. I'm not going to play the whole piece, but they'll briefly recap it here, and then we'll get to the real details.
Police officer fired last month, accused of being part of a sex scandal within the department, filed a federal civil rights violation lawsuit against the city. In that lawsuit, Megan Hall's attorneys claim Hall's department supervisor groomed her sexually. News 2's Tori Gessner read through the 100-plus pages of her lawsuit. She joined us live in studio to explain those accusations. Tori?
Bob, the lawsuit names the city of LaVerne, former Chief Chip Davis, and former Sergeants Lewis Powell and Henry Ty McGowan. Megan Hall is suing for lost wages, mental suffering, and reputational harm after the lawsuit says her supervisors groomed her for sexual exploitation, forced her into having sex, and took and sent nude photos of her without her consent. The lawsuit includes social media messages attributed to former Chief Davis telling Hall he's lonely, another saying he'll harass her and make work fun, and a third describing her outfit as, quote, hot girl summer. The lawsuit alleges supervisors promised Hall she would be promoted in exchange for sex acts. Then her attorney says when she tried to end the relationships, they threatened to disclose her mental health issues, which could have cost her her job, according to the lawsuit. The documents claim the exploitation was so bad, Hall tried to take her own life to escape. The lawsuit asks that a jury try the case and determine the amount of money.
All right, so you get the idea there. So she is saying that things were bad, they were real bad. But I can do something that most of these other folks cannot be bothered to do. I heard she was filing a lawsuit, and as you all know, in the internet era, people just brush over those things and expect their local TV stations to give them all the facts and details. But if you know me, you know I never do that. So what I did was I could be bothered to go and look up the actual lawsuit itself. I could go and actually look up the lawsuit itself. And as you can see here, the lawsuit doesn't name everybody who she slept with. It didn't name everybody involved. It only named the top 3 black men. It only named them. They named the city of LaVerne, but then she only sues 3 of the black men. So when I see that on a lawsuit, I gotta go and look it up and check it out for myself. I'm not gonna take anybody's word for it. So what I've done here, and I'm not going to go into quite the detail that I went into last night, but I do want those of you who are not aware of it, I want you to get up to speed because this prefaces what I was talking about. This prefaces what I was talking about. They risked it all. When I say risked it all, I mean risked it all. Here's the introduction to the lawsuit itself here. You can see it says, Megan Hall was a vulnerable and optimistic 24-year-old woman, starts off like a novel, who had applied to be a police officer in the city of LaVerne. Where Miss Hall sought role models at her new job, she instead found predators. So they're coming out the gate. Her attorney is coming out the gate talking about predators. Oh, but these are the only 3, quote, predators named. Goes on to say here, In place of offering professional development, her supervisors and the chief of police groomed her for sexual exploitation. Now, going down to this last sentence, Megan Hall felt trapped in the role assigned to her at the City of LaVerne Police Department, and in an attempt to escape, she nearly killed herself. Then, the city blamed her for everything. This lawsuit seeks justice for Megan Hall. Now, I'm going to skip down here to the parties, where it starts, to the factual allegations. When you skip down the factual allegations, take a look at what this says. And for those of you who are not familiar with the contents of the lawsuit, take a look at what it says. Plaintiff Megan Hall is a woman and a graduate of Middle Tennessee State University with a bachelor's degree in biology. In December 2020, Ms. Hall applied for a job with the LPD. She was 24 years old, 5 feet 4 inches tall, and weighed approximately 135 pounds. Now, for any of you wondering why in the world they named this, don't worry, we'll get to that shortly. Don't spoil it for anybody. We'll get to it shortly while they're going in that detail for those of you who are already not aware. For those of you who are not aware already. Part of the application process at LPD requires candidates to undergo a psychological evaluation. Ms. Hall expressed concern about the psychological evaluation to Sergeant Ty McGowan because Ms. Hall had a history of mental health issues, including alcohol abuse, anxiety, depression, and self-harm. Sergeant McGowan told Ms. Hall the specific questions that would be asked and instructed her to lie about her history of mental health problems. Or at least that's their version of the events. Ms. Hall was hired by the LaVerne Police Department on February 9, 2021. Ms. Hall was assigned to the second shift at LPD. Ms. Hall was the only woman assigned to that shift throughout her employment. From the beginning of her employment, Ms. Hall experienced a workplace environment permeated with sexual innuendo and sexually explicit behavior. Now, they go into some details here, but I actually want to skip through that. Because I want to actually go down to the specifics of individuals in the lawsuit. They actually named them specifically. So, sexual grooming by Sergeant Lewis Powell. You can see on your screen which one is Sergeant Lewis Powell. Sexual grooming by Sergeant Lewis Powell. During Ms. Hall's employment at the LPD, Sergeant Lewis Powell was one of her supervisors. Sergeant Powell is more than 15 years older than Ms. Hall. This is the contents of the lawsuit I'm reading here. So if you're wondering what that first part was referencing, now it's connecting the dots. Sergeant Powell is more than 15 years older than Ms. Hall. Sergeant Powell's height is 6 feet 2 inches. Sergeant Powell weighed approximately 220 pounds at all times referenced within this complaint. Sergeant Powell identified Ms. Hall as a young, vulnerable woman in a department dominated by aggressive older men. And yet, as you see in the lawsuit, she only names the black men, so apparently being aggressive won't get you sued by Megan Hall. Being big won't get you sued by Megan Hall. Unless you're black, in which case, hold this lawsuit. So just in case you were wondering why it was the attorney wanted to go into detail about the way that they looked before and how tall they were and how big that quote big they are, in case you were wondering what that was about, now you know what that's about. Now you know. I've gone through withering detail in this lawsuit to bring you all just the facts that you need. And if you like the fact that somebody has read through the lawsuit and going to bring you those details, give me the notepad emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button. We got over 1,500 people so far. It's going to pack up quickly here. But give me the notepad emoji and hit the likes button. Because I'm not just giving you dry details. You've heard the news. Now, you heard that she filed a lawsuit. I want you to hear exactly what the lawsuit says. Not conjecture or somebody estimating or guesstimating. I want you to know the contents of the lawsuit. Now, it goes on to say here, in early March 2022, Sergeant Powell, by the way, it hasn't even been a year yet, Sergeant Powell targeted Miss Hall for sexual exploitation by abusing his knowledge of her personal circumstances, professional aspirations, and psychological vulnerabilities to coerce her into sexual activity. Now, that's quite a resume to throw out there on those fellas like that. Quite a resume to do that, because Miss Powell had a history of a number of problems. And when you go back to the lawsuit here, remember, she had alcohol abuse, anxiety, depression, and self-harm. This was before she ever signed up for the LaVerne Police Department. Before she ever signed up to work for them. Sergeant Powell learned that Miss Hall was going through the process of buying a home with her husband, and that this process was extremely taxing on their relationship. Sergeant Powell positioned himself as a reliable source of companionship. These are the words in the lawsuit, not mine. And advice regarding Miss Hall's career and her marriage. Sergeant Powell contacted Miss Hall through Facebook Messenger and offered his personal cell phone number. These are police officers who should know about how to investigate something, and yet they immediately go in violating everything you need for an investigation, so I can only assume they wanted this. Sergeant Powell complimented Miss Hall's physique and offered to show her workout techniques. Leveraging his role with the crime suppression unit and his rank, Sergeant Powell promised to share with Miss Hall training and, quote, tips in order to ensure advancement in her career. On or around March 15th, 2022, Sergeant Powell would bring up the topic of sex while he was on patrol with Officer Hall. He stated that he had, quote, played the game before and, quote, could keep it cool at work. During one such conversation, Sergeant Powell directly propositioned Miss Hall for the first time. By the way, she's a married woman. Not sure why they didn't refer to her as Mrs. Hall. But by the way, she is a married woman. He stated that, quote, it's just sex. I can give you what your husband can't give you. Miss Hall responded that she was not interested. Sergeant Powell persisted in requests for sex despite Miss Hall's resistance. Sergeant Powell stated he was, quote, taking an interest in Miss Hall, and that Miss Hall reminded him of himself when he first started the department. Miss Hall looked up to Sergeant Powell as a professional role model. Despite Miss Hall's repeated denials, Sergeant Powell texted Miss Hall during shift about how they could have a secret sexual relationship. Eventually, Miss Hall gave in to Sergeant Powell's requests for sexual favors. Sergeant Powell told Miss Hall to come in early for jiu-jitsu training at an off-site facility used by the department for such purposes. When Miss Hall arrived, Sergeant Powell kissed Miss Hall. He then pressured her to perform oral. Miss Hall expressed concern about the fact they were engaging in this activity in a public place, but reluctantly agreed. Did you see how that sentence smoothly flowed together? Miss Hall expressed concern about the fact they were engaging in this activity in a public place, but reluctantly agreed. Miss Hall explicitly stated that she did not want Sergeant Powell to do things in her mouth. Despite her expressed limitation, Sergeant Powell forcibly held Miss Hall's head down and did things in her mouth. Within days of the jiu-jitsu training, Sergeant Powell took Miss Hall to his truck after shift for a sexual encounter. She expressed a boundary by requiring the use of a condom, and Sergeant Powell agreed not to risk getting her pregnant. However, during sex, Sergeant Powell removed the condom, forcibly held Miss Hall in place, and risked getting her pregnant. He said that it was, quote, okay because he had a vasectomy. You've been to a lot of YouTube pages. You've seen a lot of websites. You've seen a lot of articles. Did anybody give you all the details about what led to this? Because last night I was talking about Megan Hall, but tonight I got to talk about some of these fellas with some of what's going on here. And even though I don't believe every word and sentence in her lawsuit, I can't dismiss all of them as well. We'll come back to that later. On another occasion, while engaged in sexual activity, Ms. Hall noticed that Sergeant Powell was photographing or video recording her without her consent. She became upset and demanded that Sergeant Powell delete the data. Sergeant Powell assured her that he deleted data, but based on the February 6, 2023 investigative report by Frost Brown Todd LLP, at least one of these non-consensual intimate visual depictions ended up in the possession of Sergeant McGowan and Chief Davis. Keep track of these names. There's a reason why they keep naming them. Sergeant Powell regularly instructed Ms. Hall to delete text messages evincing the relationship. Sergeant Powell persistently asked for sex during shift and whenever the two were alone together at LPD. Sergeant Powell would engage in sexually charged communications involving explicit descriptions of sex acts. The lawsuit's leaving out the fact that she sent messages doing the same thing, but this is her lawsuit. So, but by the way, yeah, you're leaving out that part. On several occasions between March 2022 and October 2022, when Ms. Hall would make a mistake on duty, Sergeant Powell excused her mistakes on the condition that she performed sex acts with him later. By the way, they're not saying just yet what those, quote, mistakes were. Wait till you hear what the mistakes were. Sergeant Powell threatened that, quote, if anyone finds out or if you sleep with anyone else, then it's over. Things are going to be different. Work's going to be different. Sergeant Powell used his authority as supervisor to seclude Ms. Hall and coerce her into performing sex acts. On one such occasion, Sergeant Powell secluded Ms. Hall at a police substation and asked her to perform oral. Ms. Hall declined, but Sergeant Powell would not take no for an answer. He begged Ms. Hall, this is her wording in the lawsuit, so he allegedly begged Ms. Hall to perform oral sex, stating that he had tension and really needed it. Ms. Hall stated that she had no choice but to provide sexual favors to Sergeant Powell, so she performed oral as demanded. All he had to tell her was that he had tensions and really needed it. So I guess this is really redefining officer down. The exploitative sexual relationship with Sergeant Powell impacted Ms. Hall's mental health and contributed to worsening of her psychiatric symptoms, including anxiety and depression. Ms. Hall felt that she couldn't get out of the relationship because Sergeant Powell refused to accept her wishes whenever she told him that she did not want to have sex with him or when she tried to end the relationship. On one occasion, when Ms. Hall tried to end the relationship, Sergeant Powell called on her while heavily intoxicated. Sergeant Powell was crying and told Ms. Hall that he drank an entire bottle of Jack Daniel's whiskey. He threatened to kill himself, told Ms. Hall, quote, you did this to me, and asserted that Ms. Hall was responsible for his imminent suicide. Ms. Hall continued to experience anxiety, depression, and difficulty concentrating at work because of her inability to escape the relationship with Sergeant Powell. Now listen to the next details here. Because for those of you who never read the lawsuit and you've just been relying on the news or other YouTubers, you haven't gotten these details. This is the only place giving that to you. On Memorial Day weekend 2022, Ms. Hall attended a party hosted by LPD Sergeant Eric Statz and attended by other LPD officers. Now, you heard that? Memorial Day weekend, she went to a party at one of the sergeant's houses, and there were other officers there. The only other woman at this party was Officer Magliosho's wife, who left early in the evening. Miss Hall posted on Facebook a picture of herself in a bathing suit lying on the houseboat. LPD Sergeant William Watson commented on Miss Hall's Facebook post. Miss Hall and Officer Magliosho walked his wife back to her car, then secluded themselves and had sex before returning to the houseboat. I didn't know there was this many areas to seclude yourself in 1 square mile, but they found everything apparently. When they returned, Officer Magliosho digitally touched the visibly intoxicated Miss Hall in a hot tub within full view of the other LPD officers. Very interesting because she's only suing 3. This is all very interesting because she's only suing 3. But okay. After several minutes of digital touching, Miss Hall pushed away. For those of you who don't know what digital means, that means your fingers, your digits. Miss Hall pushed away Officer Magliosho's hand from her regions and said no. 10 or 20 minutes later, Officer Magliosho poured vodka down Miss Hall's throat. Afterward, Miss Hall and Officer Magliosho had sexual intercourse in the bathroom of the boathouse. So she gave a 2 for 1. And she was the only woman there. So you can only imagine the rest of the guys were standing around saying, damn, I hope he hurries up and finishes up. The events occurring at Sergeant Statz's party became widely known within the LPD. Sergeant Powell told Miss Hall that such flagrant activity could lead to trouble. Sergeant Powell continued to leverage his position of authority to extract compliance with his sexual demands from Miss Hall. So now they're claiming that was sound like blackmail or something. Sergeant Powell texted Miss Hall under the pretense of offering additional training opportunities, and Miss Hall would make excuses to avoid participating. Sergeant Powell did not accept Miss Hall's rejection. He told Miss Hall, quote, "You owe me." Miss Hall submitted to further sexual acts with Sergeant Powell through October of 2022. Sergeant Powell secluded Miss Hall during a shift at an archery range and stuck his hand down the front of her pants. Sergeant Powell provided Miss Hall with special treatment at work and made sure she knew that he, quote, wouldn't be doing this if they didn't have a sexual relationship. Sergeant Powell coerced Miss Hall to engage in sex acts despite her rejection and non-consent. After violating Miss Hall, she comes pre-violated, but all right. Sergeant Powell said things like, "I could tell you really weren't into that." Was this before or after she started sending the text messages to him? I'm just wondering. Was this before or after she started sending text messages to him? Asking for a friend. The sexually coercive environment on the second shift of the LaVerne Police Department triggered increasingly severe symptoms of mental illness in Miss Hall. These symptoms impacted Miss Hall's ability to perform her job by impairing her ability to concentrate on tasks such as driving. So listen to what they're telling you here next. They're telling you that because she was having sex with Sergeant Powell and apparently so many other people, that it was impairing her ability to drive. Listen to what the lawsuit says here. On July 14th, 2022, Miss Hall reached out to Sergeant Powell to convey her psychological distress and its impact on her ability to perform her duties. Sergeant Powell told Miss Hall that if she sought help for her psychological distress, she would be portrayed as the weak female officer and no one would trust her. He warned her against reporting her issues and advised her to suck it up and focus on work. Within hours after the call to Sergeant Powell, Miss Hall was involved in an on-duty collision. Miss Hall was operating her patrol vehicle on Waldron Road at the Murfreesboro Road intersection. She attempted to merge lanes but failed to yield to another vehicle, causing a collision and property damage to both vehicles. So she had a fender bender. But she's blaming it on stress and Officer Powell, and apparently only on the black men that she was having sex with at the department. The white fellas apparently were not stressing her quite so badly, since she didn't name any of them in the lawsuit, just the black ones. So apparently the sex with the white dudes and didn't stress her so much. Apparently that wasn't much of a problem there. So, all right. So she had a fender bender, but her attorney's making it sound like the car flipped 3 times and she was ejected from the vehicle. On October 21st, by the way, what first was in July, and then 3 months later, 90 days later, October 21st, 2022, Miss Hall was involved in another collision while on duty. She was leaving the LaVerne police station to respond to an assault, but pulled out in front of a van and caused a wreck. She was injured and transported to Stonecrest Medical Center for treatment. So according to her, the fellas were on her so much that she just lost concentration. Sexual grooming by Sergeant Henry Ty McGowan. So going down the list here, she goes into detail about Sergeant McGowan. Sergeant McGowan was a supervisor at the LPD during Miss Hall's employment. Sergeant McGowan is more than 20 years older than Miss Hall. Sergeant McGowan is 6 feet 1 inches tall. Sergeant McGowan weighed over 240 pounds at all times relevant to this complaint. So in other words, they're saying these are the big black bucks. Take a look at how big, the only word he didn't use was black. They're just big and old and big and huge and big and tall and big, and they're big, and being big is a big. Were the white dudes not big enough? Were the white dudes not big enough? Well, from some of her messages, let me stop. Sergeant McGowan, during her employment with LPD and within the workplace environment, Sergeant McGowan continuously engaged in sexually charged behavior. Between February 2021 and October 2022, Ms. Hall repeatedly declined to participate in sexual activity with Sergeant McGowan. Despite Ms. Hall's repeated rejections of Sergeant McGowan's sexual advances, Sergeant McGowan continued to request such favors. In early November 2022, Ms. Hall reached out to Sergeant McGowan for guidance about how to deal with the psychological distress she was experiencing resulting from her circumstances at the LPD. Sergeant McGowan offered to meet with her at his house. Now, do you see this right here? It says between February 2021 and October 2022. So from February 2021 to November 2022, they hadn't had sex at all. Nothing. And yet, she was able to push him off all that time and stop him all that time. But in November, she reaches out to him for guidance? Really? So over 6 months later, he'd been allegedly hounding you for sex for 6 months. You were apparently very good at being able to hold him off, if not everybody else. And then 6 months later, it just sounds like he's in rotation, but all right. It sounds more like it's his turn. By the way, she was so upset about things that were happening in folks' houses and houseboats that Sergeant McGowan said, "Hey, let me help you out with that. Come to my house." You figured she would have enough of house visits. Sergeant McGowan promised that he could protect Miss Hall's position in the department. Her position in the department. He mentioned that her on-duty auto collisions could prevent her from getting promoted, but that he had the power to ensure Miss Hall got the promotion. Contemporaneously with these promises, Sergeant McGowan propositioned Miss Hall for sexual intercourse. Miss Hall agreed. Of course she agreed. She always agrees. She don't turn down nothing but her collar. She always agrees. This is not breaking news. Except in her attorney's office. Miss Hall's mental condition continued to deteriorate between November and December 2022. So the part about Sergeant Ty was pretty short. Now, here's what they say about the police chief. You can see the police chief there. She's got some choice words about him and some of these things you have not heard in the news reports. They didn't go into this detail. You will get that here. You heard this as attempted sexual grooming, Chief Burrell Chip Davis. At the time Miss Hall joined the LPD, Chip Davis was the highest ranking commanding officer of the department. Chief Davis is more than 20 years older than Miss Hall. Chief Davis and other supervisors at the LPD, including McGowan and Powell, used promises of promotions, favorable treatment, and special training as tools to coerce and manipulate junior female officers, including Miss Hall, into performing sex acts on and providing intimate visual depictions to said supervisors. Chief Davis encouraged this behavior and shared in the pornography and sexual fantasy of mutually abusing Miss Hall with his trusted supervisor, Ty McGowan. Now, here's a transcript of text messages here. It says Chief Davis told investigators that in a text exchange dated October 25th, 2022, Sergeant McGowan sent him a photograph of a black male foot. No, seriously, as you can read in the lawsuit, sent a picture of a black male foot inside Officer Hall's mouth. Immediately thereafter, Chief Davis said the following exchange occurred between he and Sergeant McGowan. Chief Davis, who that? Sergeant McGowan, Hall, Lewis. Chief Davis, he on it again. Sergeant McGowan, he swears he ain't. Chief Davis, she nor her husband took that picture. Sergeant McGowan, she has a tight little ass though. Chief Davis, yep. So as you all can see, the chief apparently threw caution to the damn wind. Threw caution to the damn wind. Now that I've read that, what I want to do is I want to go back again. Now that I read that part, what I'm going to say next makes a little more sense to you. What I'm going to read next. Remember that part I was reading about sexual grooming by Sergeant Ty McGowan? Listen to what they said, that during her employment with LPD and within the workplace environment, Sergeant McGowan continuously engaged in sexually charged behavior, including but not limited to smacking Miss Hall on the buttocks at the police station, referring to himself as Papa Bear, and hugging Miss Hall so tightly that he would lift her off the ground. During some of these hugs, Miss Hall felt a bulge that she believed to be Sergeant McGowan's, well, not his wallet. Propositioning Miss Hall for sex, specifically stating, I want to boom you. Please use me for sex, and I want to order you up. Making sexual moaning noises when Miss Hall would walk into the room. Making comments about how good Miss Hall looked in her uniform pants. Now listen to this part. Offering to pay if Miss Hall would set up an OnlyFans account managed by Sergeant McGowan, where Miss Hall would have sex with other men so Sergeant McGowan could watch. Offering to pay and create an account on Feet Finder for Miss Hall. So if it struck you as a little bit strange when you say, wait a minute now, they put a foot in her mouth, literally. There's a black man's foot in her mouth. Where did they do that at? Well, now you get the idea here. But here's the interesting part. Now, what you heard there was that that was McGowan who wanted to set up the Feet Finder account. Remember? That was McGowan who wanted to set up the Feet Finder account. But you remember in the text messages, he tells the police chief that's Lewis's foot in her mouth. Not his. That's Lewis's foot. So he's sitting up here calling the police chief, "Hey, chief, take a look at this here. Who the hell that? Hall and Lewis." So was Sergeant McGowan player hating? Was he? Was this just a blatant incident of player hating? So he figured out she likes foots in the mouth. She got a foot fetish. He figured out she got foots in the mouth. He going to the police chief. Hey, Lewis is hogging it. Hey, Lewis is hogging it. I couldn't help but think about that there, because if you go back to the details, remember what it says, that her and Sergeant McGowan didn't start sleeping together until November 2022. And yet, you can see here it says the text exchange dated October 25th. So McGowan hadn't started sleeping with the woman yet. And yet McGowan is sitting up here dirty macking on Lewis, on Sergeant Powell, with the police chief. The text messages go on, by the way, in case you thought we were done. Oh, hell no. The exchange of messages continued on October 28th, 2022, 3 days later. Chief Davis, "The F Lewis saying to these hoes, 'cause normal pimp S ain't working." So the police chief is like, wait a minute, how is Lewis got her wrapped around his finger and the rest of us don't? So the police chief is like, "The F Lewis saying to these hoes, 'cause normal pimp S ain't working." The police chief is like, "Hammer, how you do it?" Sergeant McGowan, "No effing clue. He killing it." Chief Davis, "Maybe Goody S." Sergeant McGowan, "Gotta be. I can't do it. Gorilla pimp." Chief Davis, "Only way I know." Chief Davis, "Does she talk to you?" Sergeant McGowan, "Nope. She getting too much attention. At least until the next month, Sergeant McGowan. Your turn comes up in the next month, brother. So a little more patience. Sergeant McGowan, "Nope. She getting too much attention." Well, based on the evidence, that was a factual statement when you think about it. Chief Davis, "Oh, I see." Sergeant McGowan, "It's all good." Chief Davis, "I saved her for the last time. I wish I could tell her who she effing can't do S for her." He's talking about Powell. He's talking about Sergeant Powell. Sergeant McGowan, "I wish I could too. Then we could both play." Chief Davis, "Can't F Lewis though, 'cause the pics are fire." So in case any of you were wondering about what it looked like, how it was happening, in case any of you were wondering about what was going down, particularly where the police chief was concerned, by the way, according to them, they got the goods. It goes on. As demonstrated in this October 28, 2022 text exchange, Chief Davis became frustrated by his comparative failure to groom Miss Hall for sexual exploitation. Chief Davis repeatedly attempted to seclude Miss Hall so that he could use the authority of his high office, or as he described it, normal pimp S, to induce Miss Hall to gratify his own sexual desires. As you can see, it's literally in the lawsuit there. So her attorney, he wanted to use the authority of his high office, or as he called it, normal pimp S, to induce Miss Hall to gratify his own sexual desires. Chief Burrell Davis explicitly and implicitly engaged in sexually charged behavior permeating the workplace at LPD, including, but not limited to, asking Miss Hall to come into his office and dance for him, providing, brother, you really want her to put on the show? I mean, I know she's tatted up and you want her to put on the show for you. All right. Okay. Sure. Goes on to say here, providing his personal number and suggesting lunch dates with him, complaining about his marital problems and stating that he is lonely, characterizing Miss Hall's clothing as hot girl summer S. Example D, Facebook Messenger messages with Chip Davis. Stating to Miss Hall that he will, quote, harass her and make it fun. Asking whether Miss Hall preferred dark, white, or milk chocolate with sexual undertones. Chief Davis, she take dark chocolate, white chocolate, milk chocolate, orange juice, Tang. She take whatever you throwing. She's taking whatever y'all drinking. Whatever. Milk chocolate, whiskey, wild turkey. She taking whatever it is, okay? There's no reason to ask her what her answer. What do you drink? Yes. Do you like milk? Yes. Damn, girl, I ain't even said it. Don't worry. Yes. Soliciting pornographic images of Miss Hall with LPD supervisors without her consent, actively encouraging Sergeant McGowan to engage in sexually exploitative behaviors like non-consensual sharing of pornographic images and participation in degrading sexual activities with authority figures in the department. Threatening to fire Miss Hall unless she went along with his demands for sexually inappropriate activities. Well, apparently it didn't work because he's the only person at the police department besides the 911 dispatcher who didn't sleep with her. Oh, wait a minute. Breaking news about that 911 dispatcher. We're hearing reports that there's been an inquiry. Defendants Powell, McGowan, Davis, and unnamed third parties agreed to use their positions of authority within the LaVerne City Police Department to groom junior female officers, including Miss Hall, into acting as sex objects who accept, without overt resistance, unwanted sexual advances within the workplace, performing sex acts in response to promises of favorable treatment and or threats of unfavorable treatment and termination, and providing intimate visual depictions within the meaning of 15 USC 6851. So, boy, they were doing the most here. They were doing the most, or at least allegedly so. They were doing the most. You go down the next paragraph, the next area down here, a few paragraphs down. Defendants Powell, McGowan, and Davis, and unnamed third parties. Unnamed third parties. Why aren't you naming them? You only named the black men. Why aren't you naming the other parties? What they did wasn't guilty enough? Real odd, you ain't naming everybody. You got other names, but okay. Defendants Powell, McGowan, and Davis and unnamed third parties agreed to share information with one another concerning successful grooming measures employed against female junior officers, which resulted in sex acts or the production of intimate visual depictions in order to enhance their proficiency in exploitation of these women, or, as they described it, pimping. Boy, her attorney sure don't like that. Her attorney sure doesn't like that. Now, for the rest of you there, you notice that they keep naming them because you see this area right here is called the conspiracy to sexually exploit junior female officers at the LaVerne Police Department. Anybody who's ever read a RICO indictment knows these terms he's using. These are RICO terms. These are criminal enterprise indictment terms. Yeah, she probably was. The paramedics. I mean, look. She was the break room. She was the break room. Okay, she was the break room. It says, in furtherance of the agreement to sexually exploit female junior officers at the LPD. Furtherance. So, folks, when you see a RICO indictment, you see the word furtherance. You'll usually see that word furtherance of a criminal enterprise. Here it says furtherance of the agreement to sexually exploit female junior officers. So he's basically wording this like a RICO document. Even though it's not a criminal case, it's a civil case, he's wording this as if this were a criminal RICO document. Defendant Powell exploited Ms. Hall's psychological vulnerabilities and abused his position of authority at the LPD by offering training in exchange for submission to his sexual demands, offering advancement in Ms. Hall's career in exchange for submission to sexual demands, trading sex acts for overlooking on-the-job mistakes, and threatening to make Ms. Hall's conditions of employment more difficult if she did not continue to participate in sex acts with him. So that was what's going on here. There's more of it here, by the way. When you go down here, they're talking about on October 1st, 2022, Defendant Powell disseminated Ms. Hall's intimate visual depictions to third parties, including Defendant McGowan, by use of a cell phone. In furtherance of the agreement to sexually exploit junior female officers at the LPD, Chief Davis maintained a, quote, secret phone that he referred to as "Oh Boy." Apparently, he discarded "Oh Boy." So, gotta be careful. That can be seen as getting rid of evidence, destroying evidence. That can be seen as destroying evidence. So anyway, they're talking here about they were sharing pictures of her. They're going into all that about they were sharing pictures of her. So we go down to this part here. On December 8th, 2022, Ms. Hall's mental health deteriorated to such a degree that she became suicidal. So this is December. This is after November. On December 8th, 2022, Ms. Hall began to cut herself in an effort to, quote, work herself up to the ultimate act of taking her own life. On December 8th, 2022, Ms. Hall was committed for psychiatric treatment at St. Thomas Ascension for 72 hours, where she received treatment for bipolar disorder. This is in the lawsuit itself. This is what her attorney is conceding to. On December 8th, she was committed to the hospital for 72 hours, and she received treatment for bipolar disorder. So she's bipolar and she's out there with a gun, but okay. Upon information and belief, Sergeant McGowan feared that Miss Hall disclosed to her medical providers details concerning the sexual exploitation he inflicted upon her. This fear motivated Sergeant McGowan to cause a report regarding Miss Hall's sexual interactions with other officers to be presented to LaVerne Mayor Jason Cole. Are you starting to pick up on a pattern here? This McGowan dude is the biggest damn chatty patty. This dude is the biggest snitchingest dude. And ironically enough, apparently it turns out she didn't say anything to the folks at the hospital. She didn't have to. Oh, McGowan flapping his gums again. First, it was flapping about Lewis, then about Hall, then about Lewis. Now he's flapping them because he worried. So when I tell you all about staying away from folks who talk too damn much, you can't sit up here and let everybody know what's going on in your business. This guy won't shut up talking. It's not even clear that she actually said anything to the folks at the hospital, but he was so shook up that he went and snitched on everybody. He was so shook up. Mayor Jason Cole, acting on the information provided to him from Sergeant McGowan's cell phone, contacted Director of Human Resources Andrew Patton and reported that, quote, Officer Megan Hall was having intimate relationships with other members of the LaVerne Police Department. That's an understatement. Miss Hall was having sex with the police department. Everybody except the janitor, although we have not interviewed him. It might be worth our time to investigate that one too, by the way. Immediately after the investigation began, Chief Davis and Sergeant McGowan agreed to share confidential information gained by Chief Davis through exercise of his official authority as the ultimate policymaker at the LPD in order to thwart discovery of the agreement to sexually exploit junior female officers at the LPD. You can see some of the text messages here. Aware that Officer Hall had been involved in a sexual relationship with one of her supervisors, Chief Davis did not inform the city's Human Resources Department what he had learned about Officer Hall's hospitalization. Instead, printed copies of text messages that we reviewed show that on 12:02 p.m., December 9th, 2022, Chief Davis texts Sergeant McGowan. So this is the next day. Megan Hall was committed to the hospital on December 8th. The next day, December 9th, Chief Davis and McGowan, Loose Lips McGowan, Jabba Jaw McGowan, Chief Davis, PMAG trying to put up smoking mirrors and it's going to come back to bite him. Sergeant McGowan, really? Already? Chief Davis, he telling Conrad everything but I effing her. Sergeant McGowan, LMAO, have I warned you all about dudes who like to laugh and giggle? The fella you couldn't trust was the one sitting up here laughing and giggling. He's the loud mouth. He's the motor mouth. He's the snitch. He's the player hater. And he's the one sitting up here giggling. And I've warned you about dudes sitting up here giggling. The initial investigation having not yet begun, Chief Davis and McGowan speculated on December 11th how an investigation might proceed if Powell and Davis were interviewed. Chief Davis, between you and I, if it comes out about Lewis and he hasn't said anything, he is toast. Chief Davis, supervisor and officer. Chief Davis, at least demotion. You should have been worried more about yourself, Chief Davis. Sergeant McGowan, I told him until I'm blue in the face, bro. He ain't listening. Wants to see how it's going to play out. Motormouth McGowan. Motormouth McGowan, he's the one went and told the damn mayor. Motormouth McGowan. He's the one went and told the mayor. Sergeant McGowan agreed with Chief Davis to cast Miss Hall's sexual activity in a false light by asserting that Miss Hall was the enthusiastic perpetrator of sexual misconduct. With a body count like this, enthusiasm speaks for itself. If she was bipolar, that's one of the symptoms of it. If she off her meds, she need to get back on them. Throughout the December 2022 investigation, Sergeant McGowan communicated with Chief Davis using Old Boy in order to subvert the course of the investigation and prevent the detection of the agreement to sexually exploit junior female officers at LPD. So basically, that's all the information, all the news that is fit to print. And there's a lesson here. There is a lesson here. First of all, what in the hell is going on in LaVerne, Tennessee, that these fellas are all going this damn bat crap crazy behind one little floozy? Ain't another chick in town? There's not another one in town? There's not another one? This was the best they could do? So y'all are gonna risk your careers, risk your jobs, maybe even risk your financial futures, and maybe even risk your freedom for her? That's what I'm saying. So y'all was willing to lay it all on the line for her? This is the one you gonna lay it on the line for. This is the one. Talking about OnlyFans, you couldn't have took a trip over there? I'm just saying, the pickings couldn't have been no worse than what the hell y'all was dealing with. Really? Come on, man. This was a good idea? And Chief Davis is watching this whole thing unfold, and he's acting like one of the old coots at the bar. And I'm just looking at it saying, okay, if you're going to lay it all on the line, we lay it all on the line for this one? This is the one we lay it all on the line for. This one. Why is it? I got a simple question for you all here tonight. Why is it that these fellas would be willing to do this? Why is it that these fellas would be willing to go off and do something like that? Why would they? Why would they? With these are grown men who talking about gorilla pimping. All right, I'm willing to sit up here and entertain that for a minute or two. But I'm asking a simple question here. What is it about y'all? What is it about you? What are you talking about here, man? What are you doing? Why would this seem like a good idea? Why on earth would it seem like a good idea? Well, I have a couple of ideas of my own that might explain it. And this is why I tell fellas that you have got to be prepared or else. You've got to be prepared or else you'll find yourself in a bad situation. Well, Jason, how did this happen to them? Do you have any idea how it occurred? Well, I've got a couple of suspicions right here. If you want to know the biggest reason why I believe that this happened, well, I have a couple of suspicions, and my main one is right here. In case you didn't know, the City of LaVerne Police Department is currently hiring. The City of LaVerne Police Department is currently hiring. At $21.38 an hour. Full-time position. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are hiring. You just fired half the damn police department, if not all of it, certainly half of it. So, yeah, the City of LaVerne is hiring at $21.38 an hour. Certainly not chicken feed. Certainly not that. But when you think about it, that's not exactly the way we want to go here either, because some of these folks, boy, I'm telling you, should have bought a used car. I'm just saying. Now, for those of you who haven't done the math, that works out to about $45,000 a year, $21 an hour. That's going to work out to about $45,000 a year. So you can get hired to the LaVerne Police Department for about $45,000 per year. But here's what I'm saying. Even in LaVerne, Tennessee, I'm wondering how much pull you got knocking down $45,000 a year. Well, Jason, these other folks were sergeants. Okay, the other folks may be sergeants. But by the same token, how much more are they making with that? Because that's a very serious question there. These folks here, I got a feeling that some finances may have been part of it here. Because I'm just saying, if your money is real right, what in the world are we doing? If the money is correct, what in the world are we doing? Just seems to me like it'd be a little bit different there. Seems to me like it'd be a little bit different if everything was straight. If everything was straight, Well, Jason, you don't really know what's going on there. You don't really know what's happening. You're not really sure what's occurring. You know what? You're absolutely right. Why don't we go to the LaVerne City website? Why don't we go to that one? LaVerneTN.gov. As I said, information you'll receive nowhere else. Well, when you go to the LaVerneTN.gov website, they have job opportunities. Oh, good. Wonder what they got opportunities for. Stormwater labor, $17 an hour. Payroll specialist, $21 to $24 an hour. Emergency communications specialist. Oh, this is working. I guess that's will be 911. Okay, supervisor of the emergency communications section, $19 to $22 an hour, working under the supervisor of the emergency communications section. Okay, street laborer 2, and oh, well, take a look at this one right here. Law enforcement patrol officer, $21.38. It doesn't even give a range. It's just $21.38. $21.38. Law enforcement patrol officer certified under the direct supervision of the field training officer, FTO, and shift sergeant. Y'all still got some left? $22 to $24 an hour. This job will be posted until filled. Posted until filled. And y'all need to knock it off. You had enough of that. You had enough of that. So yeah, for those of you who are wondering, did we do our homework? Did we do our investigation? Did we look into it? Do we have all the facts? Yes, I do. And I'm asking a very simple question tonight. How in the hell did y'all get caught up in this? The way all of them were lined up. Don't you know you got her thinking all kinds of wonder. She thinks she's a winner. She thinks she's a winner. And she was married. I'm just saying, so she is married and all these dudes are dogpiling her. Fellas, you risking it all for low-level sex. They were risking it all for low-level sex, and does anybody have a sensible explanation for why in the hell you would do that? Are there no other women in the state of Tennessee? Because that's the kind of thing it starts looking like there now. It starts looking like it's no other women in the state of Tennessee. So what in the world were you thinking? The police chief, what in the hell were you thinking? And why is it that they were not on their guard about this Ty McGowan dude? This Ty McGowan dude is like a damn criminal informant. Why didn't the police chief know? Hey, I can't talk to Ty. Ty can't keep his mouth shut. Ty can't keep his mouth shut. I'm not talking to him. Ty can't hold a glass of water. I'm not talking to him. He'll tell anybody everything he knows. Why is it that none of these fellas didn't realize that if you are going to try to make a move like that, you don't sit up there with every damn body watching you at the Memorial Day party? And it'd be different if they were chasing a dime or something, but this kind of clamoring. And what I'm saying is, this is what happens on Facebook. This is what happens on Instagram. This is what happens on Twitter, WhatsApp, and anything else. TikTok, whatever. This is what happens. You've got literally a dozen dudes player hating, backstabbing, messing up the damn workforce behind one chick, and she ain't even bad to the bone. These are the details that the news did not give you. All of them were lined up. And here's the other thing right here. This Ty McGowan dude, he came up last. Remember, the Memorial Day party was before he got his turn. He got his turn in November. Everybody else had smacked before November. He was the last one, and he still waited his turn. This is what's happening. This is the other side of the equation, which is, wait a minute. You fellas don't respect yourselves more than to say, hey, there's too damn much going on over there. There's too damn much happening. I'm not doing all that. It's not about having women in the workplace. You're supposed to be a man in the workplace. This dude done waited until about a dozen people got to run through, and here he is like the little kid with his shoes untied. Wait for me, wait for me. Wait for me, I got short legs. Insane. While we discussed everything else, think about, no, that's not thirsty. That's just desperate. That's not even, we left thirsty about 50 miles back there. No, this is beyond thirsty. This is just good old fashioned desperate. The whole police department got blowed up for a strong foe. The whole police department has been blown up behind a strong four. But this is typical of this day and age. And these ain't young men. She was 24. That makes McGowan 44. That makes McGowan 44. That makes Powell like 39, or by now it'd be 40, but McGowan would be 44, 45. Powell would be 40, 39, 40. So think about that for a few minutes. What in the world? What type of men y'all got out here? What type of men you got out here? The whole police department, and this is the best they could do? That all of them were sniffing behind her like a dog for over a year. Over a year. They were all waiting, willing to just wait around. And now you can all hold this lawsuit. Now everybody can hold this lawsuit. So I'm asking a question tonight. I am asking about this propensity in the modern day here of fellas today to risk it all for low-level sex. It wasn't like she was some brainiac. It wasn't like she brought some extraordinary skill set, at least not one you can use in your regular life. It wasn't like this woman was some special being or something. I mean, and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying, baby, look here, OnlyFans? Need to call that bastard Only Feet. I'm not dissing and bombing on you. I'm just saying you might have been a dime at the LaVerne Police Department. So I guess in LaVerne, Tennessee, that's what a dime is in LaVerne, Tennessee. I'm feeling pretty good about Shreveport now. Hell, I was feeling pretty low on Shreveport before now being a Shreveport 10, but I'm like, hey, you know what? I feel pretty good about Shreveport now. Yeah, about my hometown Shreveport, about what we got there, I feel a whole lot better. I mean, it could be worse. Could be in LaVerne, Tennessee. I could be in LaVerne, Tennessee. Yeah, Shreveport's looking pretty good. However, you might disagree. Therefore, the telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Somebody explain to me, what in the hell is going on with fellas today? I mean, it used to be they were just willing to spend a little money. Now they're willing to risk their health, their lives, their pensions for just any old thing. They willing to wait around for it. They ain't got more respect for themselves than to say, man, I ain't following up behind MC Hammer's whole group of backup dancers. I'm not doing that. I mean, if you gonna go catch a rat, not this one. What are you doing? Not this one. And he said it right the first time. She got too much going on. Yeah, but it didn't stop him from waiting his turn. It didn't stop him from waiting his turn. He was willing to wait. It was okay, well, she getting too much attention. Lying through his teeth. He was waiting. Man, Louis, will you hurry up and get out of this one? Get out of the way, Louis. And it sounds like a joke. It really sounds like a joke. But what I'm telling you is right now, you don't have men who have respect for themselves. What this tells you is that these fellas, they valued sex way more than she did. They valued it way more than her. They got careers. She's only been there for a year or two. The rest of them got years and decades in the game. She's only been there for a year or two. That's it. And she runs the yard. She's their little rookie, and she runs the yard. Fellas today don't have any standards or discipline. That you got a job, you have a career, you straight as you can be. Man, you can hit Interstate 40 in either direction. And yet ain't doing it. By the way, I put the link for Zoom in the chat room. So I give priority to Zoom callers. If you're on Zoom, though, you're going to have to turn your camera on. If you want to speak on audio, you can just call in on the telephone number. The number is 646-787-1933. If you're on Zoom, Zoom is not for audio calling. Zoom is for video calling. That's why I give it priority. But if you only want to speak on the audio, you can go ahead and get on Blog Talk for that. Okay, you're gonna need to point your camera down some, Chili Mo. It's not down far enough. Point your camera down some more, sir. What is he doing? Sir, point your camera down some more, bruh. You got yourself at the bottom of the screen. Why do I have to tell them that? He's still working on connecting his audio. Jason, you're mean with it. I'm not mean with it. All right, everybody. This is Chili Mo. He's trying to figure out this newfangled technology. Bruh, I'm going to give you about half a second here. All right, I got to get on. He's not ready for this newfangled technology. He's not ready for it. He's baffled. All right, let me go ahead and get a caller from area code 662. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason, it's Doc from Nashville.
Okay, Doc from where?
Nashville.
All right, Doc from Nashville. What's on your mind?
Not much, man. So, I'm in Nashville. I live right outside of LaVerne, probably 15, 20 minutes. I actually used to work at Stonecrest Medical Center. I'm an ER doctor. And so I actually have bumped into a couple of these people in my professional circles. They bring patients into the ER. And, these people are not good people. I think that's the best way to say it. And I've never met the young lady, but I met a couple of the gentlemen. And so what it kind of comes down to, I think, is this. It's desperation. They think, hey, they don't have a whole lot going on in their regular lives. They think they can use and abuse this young lady for whatever it is. I think this lawsuit is bullshit. But they think they can use their power because they use it in other ways. They use it to intimidate black people driving through their little town or whatever. So they think they can use their, whatever their power from their badge in other ways. So I think that's what's really the what's going on here.
Okay, now I Googled it, and LaVerne has a population of about 40,000 people. So it's not a big town. It's not a big town at all.
No.
All of that
It's a
having
suburb of
been
Nashville.
all of that having been stated, brother, this was the best they could do. I don't want to disparage the young woman here, but I'm just saying they right up the street from Nashville. I mean, is this how they get down in LaVerne? Like she's a LaVerne, Tennessee 10?
No, because like I said, it's 15, 20 minutes from Nashville. My commute when I used to work there was 25 minutes. So you could literally be in Nashville, and I lived in downtown Nashville at the time. You could literally be there in 25 minutes. So, no, that's not the best they could do. But men have standards. You and I have a standard. Other men have their standards. And that was their standard. That chick who's a 3 on a good day is their standard. And then also, it's Tennessee. She white, so that might have bumped her up a notch in their minds. But she, at best, she's a 3.
The police chief. I got questions about him. What in the hell is going on with him? Like, I mean, he's talking like he's one of these old blues singers or rappers. I don't understand. How did he get hired?
Well, I don't know how he got hired. I have no affiliation with the LaVerne Police Department or the LaVerne City government at all. But I think he got caught up just like everybody else. He saw a little piece of trim. He thought he could run behind, and he thought he could get. And he saw all his other officers was having their way with him, and he got caught up. Because if you read the original, when they all got fired at first in like December, January, he wasn't caught up in it. They investigated him a couple weeks later, and he just got fired like a month ago. They got fired like 2 or 3 months ago. So he got caught up behind.
No, they knew. I mean, according to the indictment, I mean they were suspecting him from the beginning. So they knew he was a bad apple. Yeah. They knew that. They knew it.
Right. Of course they knew. But he got caught in afterburn. But they burnt these guys, McGowan, and I've had a run in with McGowan. He's a dickhead. And Powell, I never met him, but Powell, and they got all the black guys. They never got the white guys, and the white guys did a just as dirty as the black guys. But of course, who they gonna come after? Us, cause it's Tennessee, and you're a white chick who got ran through by a bunch of black guys.
That was the thing I was going on here. Is that so? Now that the events have come down, basically. This lawsuit is the most racially gerrymandered thing you could imagine. So you got run through by a dozen people, but you're only suing the black ones. Well, Jason, she's suing them because they were superior officers. First of all, based on what I've read, they weren't the only sergeants that she came into contact with. However, even if they were, this lawsuit specifically speaks about their physical nature. So everybody taller than her and bigger than her, if that's a factor in why she gave into their demands, what you're implying, then why is it that the rest of them aren't named? If that's really, if their size, if their physical size and age is really a factor, why didn't you name everybody?
Right. Well, I'm not implying that she gave in the demands because they're bigger and blacker. I know. No,
the attorney. No, the attorney is. No, her attorney is.
Right.
In the lawsuit, he's saying that. So I'm like, okay, well, if that's really a factor, then why is it you ain't sued all the cops who are bigger and taller than her?
Because the majority of them were bigger and taller than her. I think she's like 5'4", 5'5". If you look at her service record, she's not a big. She's not a big lady.
Yeah, I mean, imagine you get beat up, and here comes Officer Hall. Okay, get ready to take this ass whooping. That's all you're really gonna get. But my real thing about it is by bringing up her height and bringing up her weight and her physical dimensions, No, she's 24 years old, 5'4" tall, 135 pounds. Okay, and then you bring up these other officers. What you're doing is stating that she felt physically intimidated by them. That's what you're saying. And by saying that, okay, I'm like, okay, even if I go along with that, then why is it you only indicting the big black dudes? What about the big white ones?
Right.
Why are they not worthy of a lawsuit?
Right, but if you read the original complaints where they got fired, you will see she was texting them like, "Well, I want this, and I want this big black whatever," and she was initiating this contact on in some of these cases. So, like, your lawsuit doesn't have merit, but it's a thing. It's like this is an easy payout for her. I'm a white woman in Tennessee who, quote unquote, got accosted and groomed by these black superior officers. This is a payoff for her. Like, if you read the rest of the lawsuit, she's like, she was working at some restaurant, and like she can't even work at the restaurant like as a server because people know, because she's infamous basically. And so, but that's not my fault. That's not my fault. That's not those officers' fault. That's your fault. You decided, you as a married woman wanted to go out and sleep with all these other men, black, white, or whatever. That's your fault. You made your decision. The fact of the matter is you have no accountability.
You know, the real thing is if you explore her sexual history, because the fact the husband stayed with her means this wasn't news to him. This was not news to him.
No.
So you figure she got a body count a mile long. So it's
a
few miles longer than what we just... If this is what she could do in just 1 year... If this is what she could do at just...
a year and a half, 18 months.
Yeah, she could just do that in 1.5 years. Imagine what she been... And she's 24 years old. Imagine what's been going on between the ages of 19 and 23. Imagine. Exactly. If this is what she can do, if this is how much havoc she can wreak in a year and a half. Imagine. I'll let you have the last word.
Hey, well, as other brothers have said who on your show, I'm going to land my plane. But, Jason, one, I appreciate your content. I appreciate your show tonight because it hit home because I know some of these people. And I 100% agree with you. This is basically the fact of a young white woman who went out and had sexual encounters with big black men by her own lawsuit, who has no accountability for her actions, that her actions have caught up with her. And now she wants to sue and she wants to make some money off of it.
And of course the media then jumps.
I don't think that's right.
Of course the media jumps on it and takes her side. Of course. Just that quickly.
Of course the media's going to take her side. She's a 24-year-old white woman. She's 5'4" and 125, 130 pounds. Of course they're going to take her side.
Yeah, they're right in the chat room. Allegedly, there's reports that she was messing around with one of the cops' wives, too. So, I mean, she was just wide open. Whatever you do, she do. And yet, but the bottom line
that
is...
was in the original complaint.
Yeah.
That she had a threesome with one of the cops, and I think it was the Maglienzo and his wife, that she had a threesome with them.
Yeah, that's what I was saying the whole time. It's okay, the wife wasn't worried about him. Yeah, as soon as the wife's in the car, he's like, okay, we ain't even got to go back inside. We don't even have to go back inside.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, at this point right here, and especially if you know that, man, this is a violation of every tenet of the player code. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now, let me get caller from area code 267. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, yeah, this is Tammy calling from Williamsport. How are you?
All right, Timmy, what's on your mind?
I just have to... Yeah, that's crazy. First of all, that white woman looks ugly. She looks like somebody draw on her face. And I don't know what's going on in Tennessee with some of these guys. I'm not sure if they have low standards, but that's a damn shame. You know, they could have found a prostitute that probably looked better than her. And the information you expose to us is great. You're doing a good job, and I want to thank you for everything you're doing. Keep on doing the good work.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, CashApp, Super Chat. Thank you very much. And Venmo, thank you very much for your support. Dion Coleman, Thank you very much. Here, you worked at a major sports apparel company for years in IT. Had a married black marketing director that blew it all for a whack. Becky we tried to warn that fool. He got a promotion to keep her. He got a promotion to keep her quiet. He lost his job, equity in the company, and family. You got to watch out for fellas that are goofy, immature, and sex is new to them. You got to watch out for that. They're goofy, immature, sex is new, and they're standing right next to you. And I got a few choice words in particular here about the police chief. I got a few choice words about him. Who is steering and shepherding these people? Who is doing this? He's supposed to be gaming up these younger officers and setting the tone and setting the model. He's the police chief, and he's just as goofy and wacky as they are. He's just as goofy and wacky as them. If you're on Zoom, you need to be on camera. If you're not on camera, you got to get off Zoom. I'll give you 5 seconds. You had your camera on, Greg. If you're going to be on camera, that's fine, but you got to be on. Unmute yourself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is Greg from Milwaukee.
Greg from Milwaukee, what's on your mind?
So I had a question. Basically, with all this stuff going on, we focusing on this lady. What about this stuff going on in Ohio?
Okay, Greg, let me find out here. What's your point?
It's more of a higher stakes. It's more people's lives.
Okay, you're not even using the correct diction. It's more of a higher stakes. It's such a higher stakes that you don't even have the correct diction for it. Try again.
It's more of a higher stake in the situation.
Okay, what is the higher stake in the situation in Ohio?
The chemical fallout there.
Okay, and what would you like for us to do about the chemical fallout in Ohio?
I think it's an important topic to talk about.
Okay. Greg, I'm taking a look at your lips there. It looks like you got cracked pipe blisters on your lips, brother. Have you been hitting the pipe before you called in? Because it looks like you got cracked pipe blisters on your lips, and I'm not even jiving. I'm not even jiving. You look like you've been hitting the pipe before your eyes all bugged out. It looked like you hit the pipe before you called in. So do you need an intervention?
No, I don't do none of that. No, sir.
Okay, then there must be
But
somebody.
You got jokes though. I give that.
I'm not joking. Have you looked in the mirror? What's that going?
Yeah,
I hope that's a cracked pipe and not herpes. So what's going on with this bottom lip? What is, did they notice? Oh, wow! Then he stuck it out. Okay, well, brother, like I said, this is gonna be good. Boy, this will be immortal. Greg, I don't work for Norfolk Southern. I worked for KCS a long time ago. Brother, what do you expect us to do about train derailment? By the way, there are more important things than that train derailment. Folks are on the scene. The authorities are there. They cleaning it up. What more do you expect?
I just felt like it would be a good topic, a strong thing for you to discuss because it's more people's lives is being involved with that. And this lady, she's already pretty much they already going to take her side with this situation, and it's already a bad look on the community. So
okay, well, Greg, here's what I need you to do. I need you to put the crack pipe down, go get you a shovel, get out there in East Palestine, and go help them clean up that mess, okay? Sitting here with us is not going to help anybody. If you're really concerned about it, you shouldn't be sitting here with me. If it's really that big of a concern for you, you should be in Ohio. By the way, what state do you live in?
Wisconsin, Milwaukee.
Okay, why are you not in Ohio, sir, taking care of this thing you're so concerned about?
Well, for one, I got a 9 to 5, and number two.
Okay, sir. Other folks got jobs too, by the way, so that's not an excuse. So you can take a few paid days off.
Hey, the way I look, I really can't. But I need to.
Brother, what's going on with that hair? What is going on with that hair? It looks like you comb your hair with a salad fork. What is going on with that hair, brother?
I'm about to cut it. So yeah, I'm just
cut it.
Yeah.
You gonna use a weed whacker or a chainsaw? What you gonna use?
Nah, man, some clippers. I got clippers.
Hedge clippers?
Regular hair clippers.
Oh, okay. I don't know, brother. I'm looking at that. The wall people might not be able to get through that, so you might want to go to Lowe's or Home Depot and get something that can take care of that a little bit better. I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Your clippers might get caught, tangled up. I don't think they were thinking about you when they made them clippers. I don't think they were thinking about you.
Well, I'm gonna find out.
If we see a light-skinned dude in Wisconsin show up on the news with clipper burns on his head, we gonna know who it was now, won't we? Fella named Greg. We'll figure out that was him, boy. I'm telling you, Greg. Good luck on that one. Good luck. Just don't move too quickly. Take it slow. Take it slow. Don't just start throwing them clippers around. Take it slow. I know it's gonna be real tempting to try to race through it. I know it's real tempting to try to race through it. Don't do it. Don't race through it, Greg. Take it easy. Take it easy. I can hear them clippers now. I can see it right now. This ain't just trying to get the edge. I was just trying to get the edge. Yana, I don't know what happened. Just trying to get the edge. All right, on Zoom, you need to turn your video on. If your video's not on, you will be permanently removed. Everybody who's going on Zoom, got to have the cameras on. All right, Foundational, what's on your mind?
Yeah, so what I've noticed is that guys like that, when they was in high school, they didn't get a lot of action. So, when they get older and they become police officers, get a little bit of
because in order for you to smash a chick and be thirsty about a chick that looked like that, you gotta have had no action in your life coming up. That's where it starts at. You know what I mean? So them guys right there, you can tell they probably was cornballs in school. So this is what we have right now on the police force.
Well, man, I mean, it's not just one or two of them. This is epidemic proportions, man. When you can shut down a whole damn police department, not just one or two officers, you done cleared out the second shift.
Right. You see her neck? She looks crazy. What's going on in Tennessee?
Man, apparently not enough. Apparently there's not enough going on. That's the issue. Apparently not enough. You right down the street from Nashville and they just said, nope, screw that. We gonna sit right here and bang on this one here until she lets us have our way.
Right. I think because she was young, probably they felt some type of way about that. She was young. And I guess I'm from the East Coast. We don't really rock with white girls like that. But them guys down south, they thirsty as shit.
Man, wait a minute. Where in the East Coast you from? Where in the East Coast are you from? Has he fumbled his microphone here? What is he doing? Brother, let me try one more time. You have your microphone on. Do you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, where on the East Coast are you from?
I'm from New York.
Brother, are you kidding me? Dude,
nah.
You trying to act like we don't chase white girls in New York. Are you kidding me?
No. They chase Spanish or
okay, what are they?
Asian.
Spanish is not a race. Spanish is not a race.
Okay, well, Puerto Rican girls.
Okay, because there's a reason why they're there's a reason why they're called Afro Latinas, because that differentiates them from the white Latinas. So Latino, Hispanic, is Dominican is not a race; it's a nationality. Them white girls. But even to that extent, you ain't never heard a white woman in New York complain that the black men ain't speaking to her. You never saw that on the subway. You never go to any club or any club or any subway in New York City. There's not a white woman in New York City complaining that black men, they don't talk to us. Quite the opposite. So let's not false flag. That might be for you at your house, but let's not false flag now. Let's not do that.
I don't know. I've noticed. I've lived down south, and these guys down here, are extra when it comes to white women. They just extra.
For the ones who aren't, no, for the ones that are, they openly cooning about it and whatnot. So it's the only difference is the pickings are probably not as nice as you're accustomed to. Because in New York City, you got to walk places, so they usually are a little bit thinner. But as far as the willingness to do that, man, look here, there's no shortage of it. So, but the thing is about at least they straight up and blatant about it. Hey, you can see the coon coming from a mile away. It's not like it's hard to spot them. It's not like it's hard to spot them, but it's worldwide. It's worldwide. New York, LA, DC.
You're right.
The only place I'd probably give less of a pass would be Philadelphia. I hadn't seen it quite that bad in Philadelphia. So
that's because it's all of those Muslims out there.
Yeah, Philly.
Muslims.
That's interesting you would say that. I was about to say Chicago next. So Chicago is the other place. You don't see it quite that much there. But New York, DC, Atlanta, if they can find one, them fellas be searching hard down there. They be everywhere for it. So it's not as easy as it used to be. So that's why they're all going over to Florida now. They're like, man, look here, ain't no white girls here. We're going to Florida. So
hey, they do pay. They do pay like they weigh, though.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Even if they pay like they weigh, she can't finance all these dudes. She can't finance them. She gonna need 2 or 3. She gonna hit the lottery.
Yeah, she was a different story. That's a different story. Them boys just ain't getting no action when they was in high school. They just thirsty. That's just a different situation altogether.
I mean, it's beyond thirsty, man. This is just desperate. This is a bad-ass look. This is a bad look, man. It'd be different if it was just 1 or 2 of them. It's supposed to be just, if you get a group of 20 fellas together, it's going to be at least 2 certified lames will do anything. But you got a group of 20 of them together and more than half?
The whole police force. She brought the whole police force down.
Yeah, at least the second shift. At least the second shift. They're gonna need a whole second shift. Everybody now got to work double shifts because they gotta work 24 hours. She done cleared them out until they can rehire.
Terrible.
Until they can rehire. They hiring for folk right now. They're gonna start promoting. They're gonna start promoting janitors and firefighters here in a moment to police.
They're gonna get the immigrants gonna come. Illegals gonna come.
They're gonna start getting the fellas off the trash truck and tell them, okay, you being drafted to come over here in the police department. You got a city job. We're giving you a gun while you're on the truck today. We're giving you a gun today. So
that's crazy,
they threw, man. And for a year and a half, man, this madness went on. This fellow waited a year and a half for her to go ahead and say hello to him. A year and a half.
They was running her ass. God damn. They was running this girl. They was,
and it would be different if it was bad to the bone. But even then, there's no excuse for that. Actually, it'd only be a little bit different. I'd be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, but fellas, come on now, have something resembling some self-respect. That's the.
I wonder how many of them got wives. How many of them men have wives and stuff that's embarrassed right now?
Well, nobody's mentioned them. Nobody's mentioned them yet, but I mean, with these cats here, man, it's not, they so flagrant with it. How could she not, if they were married, how could she not know? They're so flagrant with it. How could she not know? Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. We're going to go ahead and get to the telephone lines. Let me get caller from area code 850. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Jason? How you doing?
What is your name?
My name is Keith.
Where are you calling from?
Panama City, Florida.
Okay, Keith from Panama City. What's on your mind?
Man, I just had a conversation with a friend of mine who we content creators, whatever. He just told me, after being in a conversation with a white woman for 10 years, he got took. He got took. She took the truck and everything, right? He want to tell me that I ain't messing with black women. I'm gonna go back. I said, wait a minute. She just took you for everything you got. And he's unapologetic about it, and he don't care. He's like, nah, this is what I want to do because I don't like black women. Okay, that's the way you feel, my brother. But at the same time, she just took you She just took you.
Well, some folks consider that to be a badge of honor. They consider it to be a badge of honor. That's the whole issue with this, the so-called black red pill dudes. And by the way, I wanted to get around to this. That's why I wanted to do this on this YouTube channel and not my other one there. I want to ask you all a couple of questions. First of all, did you all notice that ever since this story broke, your so-called white red pill community been dead silent? They haven't talked about this. They're not bringing this up.
No, they won't.
The lawsuit has been filed, and your white red pill folk, they're not talking about this. In case you all didn't know this, for all the idiots out there who thought they had some camaraderie, I've been talking about this literally for years. You thought you had some camaraderie with them dudes. I talked about this for years. Well, this broke down, and they're not talking anything about it. Not a word. Not a word. This should be right up the red pill alley, and yet they're not saying anything. I wonder why.
Can I add one more thing, Jason? And then he's a passport bro now. I said, man, which one is it? Now he's a passport bro.
No, he's just a new, in the words of Bernie Mac, he's just a new fool. He's just a new fool. And apparently a glutton for punishment.
You broke that down. That's as clear as you could put it.
He's apparently a glutton for punishment too. So like he's saying, what he's saying is they haven't whipped his ass bad enough yet. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller area code 601. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Jason. This is Sister Sarah from Vicksburg, Mississippi.
All right, Sister Sarah from Vicksburg. What's on your mind?
This is in reference to that previous call of the young man that you had on. First of all, I don't feel sorry for those people in East Palestine or wherever they at, because that's one of those sundown towns. You notice you don't see any black people in that town. And he needs to find a book. There's a book titled Sundown Towns, and he needs to read it so he will know his history.
Well, he was really just trolling, which is why I decided to go ahead and make a roast him. So he was really just trolling. He wanted to be funny. I just want to make sure he's on camera if he's going to try to be funny.
Yes, sir. Well, anyway, you know, Reconstruction is here on us again here in the state of Mississippi. And I watched the national news about 2 hours ago, and the legislature in Jefferson City, Missouri, is trying to do the same thing to St. Louis, Missouri. Our young people need to start reading their history, these young mothers, and we need to start homeschooling our children. We can't depend on the public schools. In fact, I know we're not talking about reparations today, but what I've always wanted from reparations, no black child in this country should have to make a loan to go to college, because we have been denied education from 1619 to the present.
Well, definitely, like I say, when they're in Mississippi and St. Louis, for example, I like to talk about the young folk, but here's the issue. In LaVerne, Tennessee, these wasn't really young cats like that. These weren't really young dudes. You got this old police chief, and he's right there with the rest of them. That's the crazy part. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller area code 202. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Nicole from D.C.
All right, Nicole from D.C. What's on your mind?
You know, I'm just listening, and I work in law enforcement in the DMV area, and the way that whole thing is being handled is mind-boggling, because the amount of sexual harassment that I'm a black woman that my coworkers and I deal with on a regular basis, and absolutely nothing is done. And watching this woman who willingly had sex with all of these men, and it's just, oh, she was groomed for years. We have been like EEOC complaints, going to the mayor, just going everywhere for it to be heard, and nothing to this day has been done. So that what she did, that's common. I'm not trying to be racial, but that's what they do. they get ran through like cornflakes on the department. If they make one complaint, as soon as that man pisses her off, I've seen black officers terminated just for, that's actually a general order. You cannot have relations while on duty. However, but I've had officials who have literally been caught. I mean, actually going over the air accidentally. Nothing. They get transferred elsewhere. So my blood is boiling just watching this whole production, how she was able to flip this whole thing.
Let me find out here. You say you work. You said you work in law enforcement in D.C. What do you do in law enforcement? What area of law enforcement?
I can't really say.
Okay. Well, you don't have to. You don't have to tell us which entity, but what area of law enforcement? Like, are you a ticket cop? You just write parking tickets?
Patrol. No,
okay.
No tickets.
Well, that's an important thing to keep in mind, because when you say things like, we've been dealing with sexual harassment, I'm curious, what exactly do you mean when you say those words?
Oh, I mean, literally grabbed. We had one individual literally pull his penis out, urinate in a bottle in front of one of my coworkers. The comments about our bodies, just a lot, and things that are not invited. These aren't things that I'll speak for myself, I didn't want. And it's sad because most of the people in leadership are black people, and they do absolutely nothing when it's a white face. Usually when it's a white officer, they get away with murder.
Well, that would be easier said than done, considering the fact you can go over their heads about it. So why haven't you?
We've actually taken it to the mayor,
okay.
And nothing's been done. You can, if you actually Google it, it'll pop up.
Right,
you'll see it. It's a major lawsuit.
Right, what I'm saying though is that in her case, she filed a lawsuit.
But if you look at her interview, she admitted to willingly doing these things. He wasn't groomed.
Oh, no. She was groomed by her parents. She wasn't groomed by the police chief and the police department. She was groomed by her parents.
And I'm confused.
But what I'm saying though is that
in
in your case, what you're referring to there. So I mean, why haven't you all filed a lawsuit?
We have.
You have filed a lawsuit. How long ago?
Yes. 2 years ago.
Okay. Well, then you should be getting ready for court soon then.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. But it's just the fact that all of this, I don't know, like I said, she's on the news. I don't know. It's frustrating how she was literally a willing participant, and
you can't be a willing participant. Now that's the thing right there. That is the racial law of America. A white woman cannot consent to sex with a black man.
Mm-hmm.
So when the black male attempts to go into a courtroom and argue that she consented, you're under the law. Mm-hmm. This is when we talk about the law of white supremacy. That's what I mean. Oh, no. A white woman cannot consent to sex with a black man. There are just the times that she has reported it to police and the times she hasn't. But by definition, she cannot. That makes an argument. When you're black, that's an argument. It's not an argument for anybody else. We got a cut off here for a moment. They're messing with the thing again. When you're black, that's the whole point. A black male, a white woman, under American rules here, the way they do things, she can't submit to sex with you. She can't consent to it. She can engage in sex with you, but it is a violation. You all have seen these college sports athletes. They done sat up here, and next thing you know, it went from consensual to non-consensual real fast. It went from consensual to non-consensual real damn fast. And that's to make a point. They do that so they can make an example out of you. It's all about making an example out of you. I see Vic on the Zoom here. Vic, were you calling in to talk about tonight's subject?
Sure.
Make sure you have your sound on. Were you calling in for tonight's subject?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's on your mind?
All right. Yes, I just want to answer the question that's posed. I would say that, and I hope I'm not repeating anything that has been said in the chat or by you, sir. But I say that why they do that is for the thrill and also to probably they make himself feel better by getting involved in that situation with a woman that's married. They feel as if they've made some type of achievement because she's probably married, as well as the sneaking around part.
Well, I mean, that's one explanation for it. I might have another one. I'll get to it once you're done, but I might have another one. I'll let you have the last word.
So, and I'm speaking from someone in a similar situation, but not with to the extent with being in a group. But that's how I felt at the time, and so that's how I looked at it. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, like I said, I got real questions about all of this here. Thank you very much for giving us a call here. I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. I just feel like I have to say something here. This all reminds me of a porn set. This all reminds me of a pornography photo shoot or a pornography film shoot. It reminds me of that. And I got to tell you, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to go take some more phone calls. Can you be a completely heterosexual male and you are chomping at the bit to follow up behind this many dudes? We already know that she's trisexual. If it's sexual, she'll try it. But I'm going to ask the question here. Can you be a completely heterosexual male exhibiting this type of follow up behind a dozen dudes behavior? Now, you all know me. I'm not one of these call everybody gay people. I'm not one of them. You can count on it's every blue moon you might hear me say something like that, and I'm not officially declaring it now. What I am saying is when it's so open and so blatant. It's so open and so blatant. How can it be so open and so blatant and it ain't a problem and you're all completely heterosexual? You following up behind a dozen dudes. Old Sergeant Ty is all upset and angry because Lewis won't let her go. He done caught a thotty by the toe. When she hollered, he won't let her go. And yet, it's a year later. It's a year later and you all own it. I don't get it. All right, over here on Zoom, point your camera down some. Wax iPad. What's on your mind?
I want to just add that I wonder are a whole bunch of police departments around the country going to offer these guys a job like they do anytime the race soldiers do any of their shenanigans any other time?
Oh, hell no. They're going to tell them you got a lawsuit on you.
You got a lawsuit, they won't offer them a job.
Yeah, that'll be the excuse they use. Now for the non-black officers, that wouldn't be a problem. The Timothy Loman, what's his name? Betty Shelby. For them, that's not an impediment for them. But if you black and you try this, you got a lawsuit and y'all were just doing the most over there. Oh no, we ain't gonna have it. We ain't gonna have it.
Yeah,
we ain't gonna have it.
Right. I wanted to ask you another thing. I'm actually I went and got my CDL. So I'm actually in the truck now. I took your advice on that. I wonder what would be a good time for me. Should I call you on the Patreon shows? Join Patreon. I know it'll be a little off topic if I ask you a few questions about that.
Yeah, that's fine. You can go ahead and sign up for that. We'll be doing it this weekend.
All right, so okay, I'll do that.
We'll be doing it this weekend. Check in with us then. We'll be glad to speak with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Take care.
Yeah, man, you don't get to get away with that. You don't get to get away with that. You try it and watch what happens. Let me get caller from area code 574. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from? Okay, we had you muted there for a moment. Go ahead and try again. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Charles from South Bend.
Okay, Charles from South Bend. Is that Indiana?
Yes.
Okay, what's on your mind?
Yeah. Hey, man, Jason, man. You know what, man? I want to think good about black men, man. But when I see stuff like this, man, it just makes me wonder: are black men capable of not putting themselves in these kind of positions especially when you're in a position of when you're a public servant? Because they do it every day. Black men do it every day and don't have an issue there. Michael Irvin's getting ready to sue some folk behind false charges and allegations here before. So black men do it every day. Now you were getting ready to say you listen to who? Yeah, I used to listen to David Carroll, man, before.
That explains a lot now, doesn't it?
No, but you know what though, man. I mean, I want to give brothers the benefit of the doubt, man. But I'm starting to think, man.
Make sure I got it ready. Okay, I'm tuning up your banjo for you. Go ahead. I'm tuning up your banjo. But you know what though, man. I just really want to know, man. Since you talk to a lot of black men, is it something about the white woman, man, that black men just don't seem to be able to that black men like you say risk it all, because they know how to pick them. They know how to pick them. They know how to choose them. It's a situation where they know how to pick them and they know how to choose them. Obviously, in this police department, nepotism was a very real thing. Nepotism here was a very real and very active thing. So this is how you end up with somebody like a Ty McGowan and a Lewis Powell.
Yeah, that's true. Because man, this Megan Hall, man, she's starting to sound like the granddaughter or the great granddaughter of Carolyn Bryant, man, in my opinion.
Well, definitely, like I say, I mean, she knows that she can call on her whiteness as her escape card. She knows, she's like, hey, all of us ain't doing the same thing. I'm a white woman, and when the crap hits the fan, I got an escape card. I'm going to flip on all of you. She knows she can do that. She knows that she can do that. I'm going to tell you right now, she's probably going to win a chunk of change. Whether we think the charges are valid or not, the problem isn't are the charges valid. The problem is they're valid enough. That's the problem. The problem is there's enough evidence, because that's why she's suing the city and them, but there's enough. That's the issue. And we can sit up here and talk all we want to about, well, she's a consenting adult and bet she got a sexual history a mile long, this, that, there, and the other. What the attorney is arguing is that this behavior violated rules and regulations and guidelines for the police department. That's what he's going to argue. Even if what he's going to argue, and once again, I'm going back to this again. Remember, what they're saying is she cannot, for those of you who think I was making it up, they're saying this basically she cannot consent because you are her superiors. You're in a superior position to her. Therefore, there are no circumstances under which she can consent. Now, we can show you plenty of black women who they're going to say consented to these white police officers. We got plenty of cases of that. But in her case, they're going to say, no, she can't consent. As long as she is one of your subordinates, she cannot consent. Doesn't matter what she told you. It doesn't matter what she said. She's going to say the only reason I was reciprocating to them was because they told me I had to. So you mean all them pictures you sent without them asking, and that's in the lawsuit too, is that she sent pictures at times when they didn't ask. She's going to claim, duress, all of it. I was just so screwed up in the head. I was just so sideways. I was so worried. So you were worried when you was calling them on Christmas saying, hey, big black stud, what you doing? You was worried then too? And it's going to fly. It's good for her. It's going to fly. Now, for Bushika, it ain't going to fly. It's not going to fly for Bushika Jenkins. Yeah. It's not going to fly for Bushika Jenkins. But she's not going to do this. But this girl here, yeah, she's going to say it. But she's going to go into a court. And by the way, it's going to be a jury trial is what they want. So you know what that means. That must mean that the judge is black. We're going to get a jury trial. Oop, white jury. Hey, it's Tennessee. White jury. Here we go. Here we go.
But don't you think though, man, that black men, especially her superiors, would know of a possibility of things like this happening? Because just like you're bringing it up about the white woman pretty much invading these college football spaces now. You know, don't these men know that that's always a possibility? And you know, it would be good to be on to proceed on the side of caution.
No,
when it comes.
I mean,
to
well,
like this,
what you're
man,
saying is common sense, but here's the reason why it doesn't work. I'm going to hit you with a scenario here, and I'm very loath to do this because I'm on YouTube. I'm very loath to do this, but based on the evidence and information as it's come in, as far as I'm able to ascertain, Powell was the first one. And Powell, one scenario that I can present, and I'm not saying that this is a definitive scenario, I'm just saying that this is one possible scenario, based on the questions that you're asking, since we're suppositioning here. One possible scenario, possible, didn't say probable, but possible, is Powell was the first one bird dogging her. And he wanted to prove he could get it. He wanted to prove he could do it. And when he started doing the most. He just started off from day one. We're going to be in the middle of the gymnasium. We're going to be behind the building. We're going to be in the backseat. He's just trying to prove this dominance thing. He's going to show him, look here, I'm going to do it better than anybody you ever seen do it. I'm going to do the most. I got footage. I'm going to do the most. Whether you call it dominance, marking his territory or whatever. So I can't verify that he was the first because I don't believe her lawsuit in that regard. But if he were the first, and under this explanation, it might be a situation where it's like, okay, he wanted to prove he could get it and he wanted to prove he could do it better than anybody else and basically let the word get around. Yeah. You know, whether he wants to rub it in folks' faces or not. And that kind of sounds like what the police chief and McGowan were saying, because McGowan is just straight up jealous. Now, that one I'm going from the reports and everything, from the text messages, McGowan's just straight up jealous because he got to be last in line. Well, second to last in line. The police chief was last in line. So it sounds to me like this was a situation where Powell runs in first and then it becomes this competition. So basically, one interpretation of the events is that this was basically like a race war over Megan. That's one interpretation. So the black officers are wanting to prove they can dominate. Here come the white dudes. Hey, we're going to bring you back over here. And it's kind of, they basically playing tug of war over her. And then it ultimately culminates in McGowan, who had been waiting around in the wings the whole damn time. And he's upset because he'd been trying since day one and wasn't getting any play. So he had to wait till everybody else was done. And she's had 2 car accidents. He had to wait until she was done, till they were done with her. And then he got his little old turn. And by the time he did, she's a space case. Actually, he got to her before she had her accidents, but she's a space case by the time he gets there. By the time she gets to him, she's a space case. Everybody else it's been a year and some change. Everybody else has been through with it. So he's like, man, I'm getting lonely last. So if you think in that context, I think that might what it be. They're just sitting up there like having a competition, you know, over her. That's one possible interpretation of events. They're having a competition over her just to see who can.
Wow.
And then once one fella does it, the rest of them want to prove that, hey, you ain't special. I can do it too. So it starts becoming something like that. That's one interpretation.
Yeah.
It starts becoming something like that. Yeah, how you going to call this gorilla pimping when literally they have the police department and left? How is this pimping at this point, man? This is public service. She needs to work for the water department.
Right.
She's a public utility. But they treating it like they doing something big. Even up until the last minute, the chief and McGowan are talking like there's still some sport or there's still some prize to be won. That's a big indicator of a big problem. Because there's no way this doesn't blow up in your face. She's having fun. She's having fun, but most likely she's not really qualified for the job. She wasn't really applying herself. She got issues at home. And she wants to collect a check, but she didn't want to do a bunch of work. Because here's the other thing I will tell you. If they were having sex on the job, you know what she wasn't doing? Serving and protecting the public. She was serving and protecting her coworkers. She was serving her coworkers, but she wasn't serving and protecting the public. So what is that? I'm just saying, think about that for a moment. How many hours a day was she allowed to knock off and not work? If she was willing to lay up with folk, think about that for a few moments. How many hours of a shift in her day was she just allowed to float? Didn't have to do anything. She's just milling around the police station, milling around the substation, just milling around somewhere. Oh, here comes Sergeant McGowan. No, nobody's going to have to hear from me for a couple of hours. So out of a 4-day work week, she might actually have to work 1, maybe 2.
Wow. Yeah. Having a cake and eating it too, man.
When you think about this for a few moments, yeah, she's sitting in a bright spot until dudes start fighting over her, until they all start going in and they start sitting up here wanting to put their dibs on her. Now she's like, okay, let me get as much collateral as possible. Then she starts wrecking police cars. And she's like, hey, I need an insurance policy. I need an insurance policy. But if she was bipolar before she got there, if she can claim she was bipolar before she got there, oh, yeah, they're going to have to cut a check. It's going to be, you can get that through a jury easy. You can get that through a jury easy. You can show all the messages you want to. What they're going to say is she was bipolar, so they took advantage of her bipolarness. We didn't even know she was bipolar. You knew she had some issues. Well, that's your word. We didn't. And it'll be their word versus hers. But if the hospital has diagnosed her, or if a medical professional beforehand has diagnosed her as bipolar, she can just flip that out. Oh, I got the bi card. Bisexual? No, bipolar. And that defends my bisexual. Now cut my check. And then that's it. 24 years old.
Wow.
Think about it for a few moments. This can fly. This can fly very easily. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller area code 832. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Mr. Jason. This is Brother Bronx calling from Houston, Texas.
Okay, what's your name again?
Brother Bronx. Just call me Bronx, calling from Houston, Texas.
Okay, Bronx from Houston. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. So, the whole discussion with everything going on is, it's a shame that, a woman like this is supposed to be serving, protecting the community. But, just like what you said, previous caller, instead of her serving to protect the community, she's really serving other men, multiple men in the force. And, it's this type of chick, not even good looking. You got a below average looking white woman that's going around doing this type of stuff with multiple men, and it's like, what cost? And for the guys, is it really worth going through all this to risk your job?
Apparently.
Is it really worth it?
Apparently it is. Apparently. This is the era that we live in. See, this is why men have to be ambitious. This is why men cannot be overgrown adolescents. This is why men cannot be around a bunch of other immature men. You got a police chief talking like he young and sporty. You got a police chief talking like he a player. He's supposed to be talking like he's the man in the room, that he's the adult in the room. He's not even supposed to be talking about no gorilla pimping, and he's not even supposed to be talking about, because crazy enough, he's talking about gorilla pimping, and he's the only one didn't get to pimp nothing. And yet he's seeing these younger cats, and this is what I mean. I'm thinking that that's the kind of, if that's the interpretation of it, if those facts are accurate, and I'm not necessarily saying that they are, but if we are to believe that as stated to us, and I'm not saying I do, but if we are to believe it, the police chief, I mean, that's what I meant by taking a look at the way they were behaving there. It's like they're trying to one-up each other or trying to prove, hey, I can. So this becomes like a test of your manhood. I'm trying to prove that Powell wasn't the only one. Powell wasn't special. All of us could do that so that Powell doesn't have bragging rights. You see what I mean? Powell was basically putting a saddle on it for a year, and then everybody else wants to prove that Powell didn't own that. She didn't belong to Powell. Hey, take a look at the rest of us. So Powell can't wag his finger and say, yeah, take a look what I did, y'all can't.
Right.
So to me, it kind of breaks down that way. And you got a police chief who is just right there in the middle of it. It's like, at what point do you grow up, man? At what point do you grow up and smell the white supremacy? At what point do you stop acting like kids and act like, hey, man, this is real serious. This is real serious. I'll let you have the last word.
But that's why, it's important as a man. I'm not going to hold. I'll say this and I'll get off. But, as a man, it's important. You got to learn to practice discipline, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to learn how to do it. I mean, to lower yourself to this type of standard degree in a workplace, you know what I'm saying? Now, what you do outside of work is your business, you know what I'm saying? I ain't judging, what you do is what you do, but
here's the problem: you can't.
You
can't say that either because you can't say that either because McGowan and Powell or the police chief having sex with her outside of work, that ain't gonna save you.
Right.
So there's no circumstances. There's no circumstances under which they can touch her and not potentially face liability. She knew this going in the door. That's why, she already got her attorney. She knew this going in the door, that it doesn't matter how this works out, I'm cool. So, chicks like that, they love going to hospitals. Next thing you know, she gets hospitalized. Now she's given the basis for the lawsuit. She's wrecked 2 cars. She obviously doesn't have a training record to stand on. And as soon as everything's starting to get hot around here, let me go ahead and go for a hospital stay. And then next thing you know, there we go. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller area code 850. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Tony, calling from Fort Walton Beach, Florida.
All right, Tony, what's on your mind?
Yeah, Jason, a great broadcast again. I read heard you talk about the lawsuit earlier.
Okay, brother, your audio's going in and out. I need you to be sitting by your phone. If your phone keeps messing up here, I gotta let you go.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Okay, what's on your mind? Go.
Yes, great podcast. Keep going. Believe one, Jason.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller area code 405. You're on live with the business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, Jason. It's Al, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
All right, Al, I thought you was about to say this is Chief Burrell. What's on your mind?
No, brother. But, hey, so, Jason, again, great broadcast for sure. I was kind of reluctant to say this because I know you the captain of the ship, man, but you got to watch these old niggas, man. Hey, check it out. Old boy from South Bend, how dare you, bro? We don't deserve power. Like, if he's black, what is he saying about his grandkids if they black? Clearly he's chasing mayonnaise salads around here, man. Seriously. And, again, you big bro, but I thought you was going to chastise him. But, yeah, man, he can't be, again, if you look at the even going to the, he said nothing about white people abusing power. Only thing he was saying was about how, okay, of course, I agree. I don't agree with none of this stuff that went on. I wish that we had more Christopher Dorner cops out here. And it's crazy how we done went from Christopher Dorner cops to these type cops that's letting this type of stuff go on. But yeah, South Bend, like Big Bro say, y'all got to hold this L. And I hope that that's not the representation of, you know what I mean, all of y'all up there, because I know, you know it again, and, you know, you got interracial marriages and stuff. But yeah, that brother definitely must have some, a white wife or something, or because he was really caping out here for white supremacy, bro. That was like one of the, and I didn't want to turn this into the Black Authority, but that was like some of the most anti-black stuff that he could say, talking about he don't know if we deserve power. Hell yeah, we deserve power.
Well, I certainly want folks, if folks are gonna make a fool of themselves, I want to give them an opportunity to do that. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. If they want to speak themselves, then I'll let them go ahead and talk, and they can say whatever they say, and then they got to stand by their own words. So let me get call America code 510. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, my name is Kimber Shakur. I'm calling from Oakland, California.
All right, Kimber Shakur, what's on your mind?
Well, you know, at 21 years old, I was a correctional officer, and I'm 60 now, so I'm retired. That's a long time ago. But this is nothing new to me within law enforcement. At 21, when I came fresh out of the academy, I remember how the men would all try to get at you. But specifically, I remember one case where one of my coworkers, a Mexican girl with a butt like straight as a fence. She had no body, but she came in married with 2 children, and she allowed a lot of the young black men to have sex with her, to the point where they would say, hey, what time you leaving? I'm coming at this time. So she ruined her reputation within 3 months. The only difference is when her reputation got really bad and other people started trying to get at her that she didn't want to get at her, she went to the captain, and the captain the captain nipped it in the bud. I think this is 2 things happening. One, I think it's all her fault, most of her fault. But then at the same time, her superiors, the sergeant, specifically the chief, should have been more professional in how he handled it. That's what I wanted to say.
Let me find out here, in those environments, why do you think those females do that? Because you didn't, but why do you think they do that?
Well, I think it was a game between them. I do think it was a game just to see, you know, what you're like. Most of the women, like we were in an environment where there were 1,000 men. I worked at Soledad Prison. So there was like 1,000 men and maybe 10 women. And, you know, when you play yourself like that, you get played. I think a lot of times these women, they're not very attractive. They're not used to all the attention that you get. You get a whole lot of attention as an officer, being, you know, so few women. And then, you know, black men just have this, you know, style about them. They handsome, and they're not used to that attention. So they play themselves.
Yeah, because the real question be for these women, what's in it for them letting themselves get run through? Like, what's in it for you? Because all of them can't file
I think the only thing that's into them was sexual attraction. But I just want to let you know, I listen to you a lot. I learn a lot from you. Although I'm 60 years old, I'm learning every day, and I appreciate you.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight here. Speak. And like I say, definitely, other than just getting run through, what is it? What is it? Call America code 401. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
What's up, man? It's Malik from Taunton, Massachusetts.
All right, what's on your mind?
Can you hear me? Just this whole thing. I don't even know how she even took down a whole police force. It's funny to me. It's just like, is that the best, like you said, Tennessee can do? That must mean there's not a lot of cute girls in Tennessee, to tell you that much. I mean, to me, in my eyes, she's kind of average. But I don't know, dudes is willing to risk it all for nothing, which is crazy to me. I mean, the thirst is real out here, man. We're going through some crazy times.
Well, I would say to you, to have this many dudes dogpiling this one chick, that's not attraction anymore. Like, there's nothing attractive especially if you work with 5 or 6 dudes that you know done laid up with the same chick, you work with her too. So you know these 5 fellas next to you done already had. How you gonna sit up here and jockey to be number 6? No, that's not attraction anymore. That's something else. That's something else. That's not attraction. There's nothing attractive about grabbing the varmint that's been run over by everybody. There's nothing attractive about that.
Oh yeah, man. You know her reputation is ruined, and then it's crazy. Like the attorney's making it out to be more than it really is when she's the one that initiated everything. Which is, I don't understand how these guys fell for it and put themselves in that situation. Like, you know, the other guy's talking, so he's already going to get everybody else jammed up. So there's like no point. But for that, I don't think it's worth ruining your career for that.
Well, there's the killing part about it is you make a very good point there. How things got initiated, I don't think she can actually prove that. So unless how do you prove who started initiating this? Because usually it's just going to be verbal. They don't start going to text until they start getting comfortable. Once they start getting comfortable, then they start sending text messages, and now you're getting documentation and hard evidence against yourself. But as far as how it started, that's going to be hearsay. It's going to be he said, she said. As far as how it finished, that's going to be something else. And here's the killing thing about it. She only has to have one text message, just one, that says, I'm not sure. That's all she got to say. She only has to have one text message where they've been having sex and swinging from the chandeliers for 6-7 months. She's only got to have one text message where he asked for it and she says, I'm not sure. That's all she's got to say.
Yeah.
And at that point,
it just shows the double standard.
Her attorney can work it.
Like, crazy.
As men today, you got to keep your head on swivel and you can't be desperate. I can teach a fella many things. I can't teach him to not be desperate. I mean, if he's just decided,
oh yeah, man,
if he's going to sink to this level, what can I do to help him? She's already got 5 or 6 other dudes you sitting next to, and you're eager to be number 6. I don't think I can save somebody like that. I don't think I can help somebody like that.
No, you can't.
Half the police department done laid up, and you ready to be number 6? I don't think I can persuade him otherwise.
It's just hilarious to me. She took down half the police force by doing that, which is just crazy. It proves that the guys are desperate out here. It's not a good look, man. This is why the society is all messed up like it is now with all the double standards and females want this, that, and the fourth. But then you wonder why guys don't take them seriously.
Okay, but think about it this way. This is why every strong 4 on Instagram and Facebook thinks they're a 10. And that's the point I'm getting here tonight.
Years, man.
This is the reason for
it.
A
little taste of reality.
Because in case y'all didn't know, I don't have any pictures here right now, but what's her name? Megan Hall. She's got a tattoo sleeve. She's got a tattoo. Yeah, she has a tattoo sleeve. When I seen the pictures of her, I was like, wow, this is it? Yeah, she has a whole tattoo sleeve on her arm. A whole tattoo sleeve. So if these dudes done got her naked, they done seen her tatted up from head to toe. So what I'm saying is, this is why the 4s think that they're 10s, man. Because they sit up here online and put up some Rat Pack pictures, and dudes will sit up here and dogpile them, give them 10, 12, 14 comments just out the gate. They sitting up here looking like the Animaniacs and Plucky Duck, and dudes are sitting up here, ooh, you so cute, you so hot girl summer. This chick was hot girl summer, really? Take a look at the massive magnitude to which you're gassing up her head. You're never going to convince her that she's anything less than an 8 now. Never.
Oh, no, because it goes all to their head, man. But then when you get a real dude that tells them the truth and starts knocking them back down in reality, they want to crucify you.
Yeah, she's going to say you hating. She's going to say you hating.
Great show, by the way, too.
She's going to say you hating. That's what she's gonna
always.
Say.
Always.
I got plenty of them. That's not what
man.
That's not what the other 15 who ran through me said. You just hating. So thank you very much for giving us a call. That's what it'll be by the time you get there. Call from area code 716. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's going on? This is Jake from Jersey.
Jake from Jersey, what's on your mind?
Man, I think we need to stop blaming white supremacy. I think these are just some old niggas with 90s R&B, R. Kelly vibes that got caught up with a freaky lying Jezebel modern woman. And that's it.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller area code 626. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
I'm L out of L.A.
L out of L.A. What's on your mind?
I have a small tad bit of an inquiry. I'll be out your hair real quick. But I think it's a way that we can combat it, but it hasn't hit me quite just yet. But my wheels are spinning, but that's the inquiry I pose to you. How do we combat such foolish behavior?
Right here.
Duplicitous, and it's insulting.
What we're doing right now. What we're doing right now. What you're witnessing in LaVerne, Tennessee, if I can encapsulate it in a nutshell, it is there ain't no code. There isn't a man code. There isn't an adult code. There isn't a black code. There isn't a
code.
Yeah, there's no code whatsoever. It's a damn free for all madhouse. And nobody's checking anybody. Not one of these guys took each other to the side and said, "Hey, bruh, we do not roll like this. We don't do
what
that."
What the hell is you doing, man? Sit your ass down somewhere. You serious? You see what they smashing, right? No. You smash it, I'm gonna slap the No. We do that to the homie. We do that to the hey bro, what the hell is you doing, man? Hey, you serious? You want to catch the fade or something, or you gonna get out the group?
The police chief.
We don't do stuff like that.
The police chief is supposed to be the big homie. The police chief is supposed to be the dude. The police chief knows and ain't taking him to the side and saying, hey, Powell, you doing the most. You doing the most. With her?
For real.
No, ease up. You doing too much. Bro, you got Facebook going, text messages. You're doing too much. You're doing too much.
And what's the purpose of sending a picture? Well, you sent the picture. You send the pictures to people. You're not embarrassed by that? I will burn my phone if I got some shit. I'll burn my phone, man. You got me. Man, mama, rest in peace. Oh, my God. I'll be embarrassed. You wouldn't, hey, ain't you riding in the squad car with her? Nope. I don't know that bitch, sir. You got me. Nah, nigga, I don't know that bitch. I don't want to talk about, bro. I ain't even a police officer. You got a badge on. No, I ain't. I'm too embarrassed, bro. I'm mortified at this whole situation. I'm not even involved.
Yeah, I mean, in the chat room, I wanted to get to this earlier. You're the sergeant and you're recording yourself having sex with a damn rookie.
Like a kid.
You're okay.
I'm finally getting
okay,
some.
but beyond that, you are officially incriminating yourself now. You are
incriminating yourself.
You are providing the evidence to indict you. You're providing the evidence to sue you. You're the one providing it. Somebody else didn't have to provide it for him.
Exactly.
You're the one providing it.
Back. That's exactly what's going on. You stabbing yourself in the back. You slapping yourself in the face, and you're doing it in front of everybody while tarring and feathering yourself.
So you can go brag. Okay, but let's be clear about the reason for it. He wants to record it so he can go send it to the damn police chief and Motormouth McGowan. So he can go floss and brag in front of them. Yeah, everybody else been trying to get it. I got it first. Like Ray J. I got it first. So he can go show them. And you saw what happened? He didn't send it to Ty. Ty didn't send it to the police chief. This is a damn game of telephone. Telephone, telegraph, tell a nigga.
Exactly.
That's what the hell we got going on here now. So he's sitting up here sending
the. Let's see if you can hit it. Tag you in.
He's sitting up here sharing it. He's sharing it like a Facebook post. He's sharing it like a Facebook post. The whole, you know full well, if you send it to one man, if what's on your phone gets out to even one person, you might as well have posted it on Instagram.
You failed.
Because everybody gonna get it. Everybody's gonna have it. If you release that photo to one person, everybody's gonna have it.
You don't show nobody nothing in your phone. That what the broads is gonna think. The broads is gonna think, oh, he showed everybody everything. I went to the point where if I pull out my phone, she can't say anything because she know ain't nobody gonna see it. Are you serious? You showing people, nigga? Are you crazy? Oh my God. Oh, I'm not gonna lie. It's a little upsetting to me because these brothers should be a little bit smarter than that. But apparently these house niggas ain't got no kind of whole training. And on top of that, in terms of this police training, they wasn't paying attention. They just regurgitated the information and then, put the badge on and said, okay, well, let's take somebody down now. Let's see if we can get some poontang pie or something. Man.
So they can go brag to a bunch of other fellas here. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. It's juvenile. It reminds me of that little square ball ass dude, Mario, from American Idol. Reminds me of him. You remember him? He was the one, he was laying up with Paula Abdul. He can't just be like, hey, I'm laying up with Paula Abdul and I'm good. This fool want to sit up here and go advertise to anybody and everybody. And next thing you know, him and Paula gone.
Crazy. We as males that's the last thing we should be looking for is some damn attention for smashing some broad. Anybody can smash a broad, you idiot. She want to be smashed, idiot. When she get through smashing, she want to be smashed again, idiot. That's not nothing taking the broad down. Let's see if we can build this enclave right quick. Excuse me, brother. I'm gonna get on out the way. I'm going to start a workout because I'm getting a little pissed off by myself.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, Big L. Let me see here on Zoom. Ryan, you on deck? Somebody get a hold of Ryan here. Ryan is spaced the hell out. Let me go ahead and turn him on so everybody can see him now here. Ryan is spaced out. He don't even know where he's at. Ryan is looking at the TV. He's got his Mecca rag on. Turn your audio on, Ryan. What's wrong with you?
Ryan spaced out. Can you hear me?
Yes, point your camera down, sir. You gave us a wonderful view of your ceiling. All right, what's on your mind, Ryan?
Hi, Jason. I really enjoy your program. I'm calling from Toronto, Canada, and everything that you're saying is true. And this, as you'd probably put it, has existed since time immemorial. This sort of thing that goes on in the workplace, and I've seen it. I work in law right now, and long time ago working in retail, clothing retail, fast food, the sort of things that you'll see and the kind of things that you can get entangled in, it'll just blow your mind. So I tuned into the program a bit late, so I'm just wondering with Powell, I figure he probably opened up his mouth and then it kind of spread like wildfire because he wanted to play big dog. So
yeah, I mean, he was the first one. He was the one sharing it with Motormouth McGowan and Burrell Buttkiss Davis. He was the one who started it, and that's why I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if it was an ego thing. The fellas are sitting around, okay, who gonna get it first? And Powell wants to show, hey, the rest of y'all, I got to home base before the rest of you. And then he wants to bring his documentation. Just in case anybody wants to dispute him, he brought his documentation. Oh, let me show you. Oh, no, nigga, I can show you. Take a look right here. She got foot and mouth disease, and it's my foot. So just stuff. I mean, right there, when you got the foot in her mouth, oh, he's just showing out now.
The thing is, Jason, also the lack of discernment on their part. It's that lady, I dated something like that. I know that type of neuroticism. And there are some guys that are so desperate, or they just lack the level of experience necessary, or they just, I don't know, they're so desperate and they lack the experience. They don't have the discernment to understand that there are some women that have problems, that have mental problems, and they bring that sort of thing into the workplace and they use it as a coping mechanism and also as a tool to kind of make up for the shortcomings, what maybe they don't bring to the workplace in terms of productivity. And this isn't a rip on women. It's just there are certain women that do this sort of thing, and they kind of entrench themselves, or they kind of put themselves into the workplace, and they create these types of arrangements, and it just becomes really, really messy. And then like they have this as something that they can springboard off of, that they can kind of use as an escape hatch when shit hits the fan. So,
well, you know,
like,
it's also because, you know, I've warned you all for years about the little crazy throwed off chick. I've warned you all for years about that. And, you know, nutty chicks got a sexual rep for a reason. It's very real and it's very, very true. But fellas got to understand, okay, how much is this worth? I mean, how much is this really worth? It's bad enough when you're dealing with a chick who doesn't work where you do. That's bad enough. You gonna fool with one right there where you are. It's just like, what are you doing? What are y'all doing? So I'm just saying, you came for something other than your job is what you came for. You came for something else. And then what you wind up finding out is she's playing a different game than y'all are playing. She knows that if things go downhill, she can always yell rape or coercion or sexual harassment. She knows she can do that. So she's like, hey, if we all fall, y'all going down further than me. You're going down. I got an escape plan. I got a plan B. You don't.
Yeah.
And fellas, I mean, here we are 30 years after Anita Hill. You might not be old enough to remember that when Clarence Thomas ran for the Supreme Court. To my folks in their 40s and 50s, we're 30 years after Anita Hill. 30 years. 30 years later.
Yeah.
And this is still happening at the same rate. You would have figured everybody knew at that point there, oh, hell no, the workplace is off limits. Nope. All the way up to the police chief. What you mean? Here, go ahead, record it, smack it up, flip it. At this point, you can't save him. At this point, you can't save him. I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah. No, just pretty much echoing what you said, and also just word to the wise. Like, the media is not going to tell you this part of the story. The media is not going to tell you about this psychological element. And like this sort of thing, as you pointed out, it's been going on for a very long time. It's happening right now, and it's going to continue to happen. This whole game, you've got to know the game. You've got to know these types of things that go on, and you have to know how to avoid these types of things and operate in these types of spaces, because you'll get swallowed up in it. So
these are a bunch of middle-aged men going towards middle age, and they're acting like sex is brand new. They're acting like teenagers.
That's the first time I ever heard gorilla pimping. So
no, we down here in the states. Down here in the states, this is a thing. Y'all still listen to Drake up there, so Drake ain't that far along with it. But don't worry, brother. Just keep listening. You're gonna get gamed up on a lot. We appreciate that. Thank you very much for checking in with us here. Yeah, y'all. He said he ain't never heard of gorilla pimping before. I never heard of gorilla pimping. I bet you heard of Guanawasi. I bet you heard of that. Oh, Jason, I know exactly what it is. Oh, good. Tell us. We don't know. Call from area code 757. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Tanya from Virginia Beach.
Tanya from Virginia Beach. What's on your mind?
I, too, retired from law enforcement. This is the game they play because it's predominantly male-dominated. Anytime a woman walks in, they bet on her, and that's what they did. I just don't understand why they went one behind the other. And then also what a lot of uniform do is this is the visual of Passport Brothers, because in the 20 years I worked there, I'm going to say between 10 and 20, over the whole entire 20 years, they went to Brazil. They went to Dominican Republic. So we're looking at a visual of Passport Brothers who do nasty things together, and they just got busted.
Well, you know, I mean, you see this in your fraternities, you know, when you're talking about running trains, that I in some circles that counts as some type of male bonding. But here's the real thing. And this is what folks don't like to talk about. Let me just go ahead and lay this out right now. Fellas, for those of you who don't know, running a train is not for bonding with the woman. It's for bonding with each other. That's the whole point. It's kind of like drinking from the same cup. It's kind of like that. So that all of y'all done laid up with the same chick. So this is like, declaring some type of bonding with each other. So she's basically a stand-in for each other. When you got this many men going through one woman, that's what running the train is supposed to do. That's supposed to bring you closer to the men. Fellas have forgotten what that is. Running a train is not for getting close to the female. Running the train is so that you bond with the men. You bond with them. She's a stand-in for the other guys. So you're basically having secondhand sex with the other men. That's what running the train is for, for those of you who don't know. That's what running the train is for. That's why for most of us, it's like, I can't do that. Why? Because that's too close to you. I ain't really trying to be that close to you, bro. I ain't really trying to be that. But for the other fellas, there's some fellas out here that they okay doing that. And that right there is like, I got to ask a few more questions about you because we don't get down like that. I'll let you have the last word.
And they're too old for this. And I'm going to say it. They're actually decent-looking men, so I don't even know why they was this needy. They're too old. And lastly, how do you lose your job? You got to go home to your mother, your father, your friends, and your wife and your children for this? This is what you lost your job and your pension for? It's pitiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight here. I mean, they're internationally famous along with her now. They're internationally famous along with her now. They're as famous as she is. They're as famous as she is. And I'm just saying, if you are going to go out on that limb, if you are going to sit up here and become internationally infamous, if that's really what's going to happen, is this the one you do it for? That's all I'm saying. Is this the one you do it for? This is the one. They just knew. They laid eyes. This is it right here. We laying it all on the line. This is it. This is the one. All right. I need to see a little more information. I need to see a little bit more information. I need to see some more. If fellas, the whole reason why I'm doing this program tonight is to elucidate, look it up. It's in order to emphasize one point. And it's that if you want to know why it is that you feel like we have such a hard time, that the females today, their heads are so bloated and overblown. If you want to know why it is, it's because this chick can get 12 men within a month to all try to dogpile her. So when she goes home to her husband, you damn right there's problems with her husband, because all these males offering her sexual access got her believing that she's just one away from having a winner. Understand how this is being interpreted by her. Well, if this is how crazy, how Juicy got you crazy, these dudes are at the police department, I got the police chief trying to lay up with me. I wonder what would happen if somebody introduced me to the mayor. Understand how this is running through her mind. If somebody introduces me to the mayor, imagine what, I bet you I could pull the mayor. Baby, you can't pull the damn mayor. I can pull the police chief and all the sergeants and one of the paramedics and a couple of the officers' wives. I can pull them. Well, you mean I can't pull the mayor? I could pull the rest of them. And this is just the one that made the news. Do you realize that this mentality, this scenario is going on every single minute of every single day on social media? You got average basic broads. You got a basic broad And if she can get a dozen people to like one of her pictures, that's 12 more people than she's used to getting in the real world. So she starts telling herself, yeah, if these 12 guys like this picture, then the dudes in my town is tripping. They're not talking to me in my town where I am. Well, they just tripping, because take a look at how many likes my picture got on Facebook or Instagram. So the guys where I live at, they just tripping. If I could be out there in Little Rock, Arkansas, we'd have it popping. So fellas, if you want to understand where it is that the females get their entitlement mentality from, Exhibit A. It isn't the girls who are the problem, it's the dudes. Caller from area code 214, you're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from? Caller from area code 214 hung up the phone. It is a full moon out, so maybe there's something else going on. Let me go ahead and see if I can crank up Zoom here. Let me go ahead and crank up the Zoom. I think I got Don P on here. Don, turn on your audio. Don is dealing with his Zimbabwe broadband. He's on his Zimbabwe broadband. Don, I'm going to give you about another half a minute here, dude, and I got to wrap it up. Don is calling us on Death Row Mobile. Turn off your speakers, Don.
I got it.
Turn your camera, Don.
This comes on a lot faster than
Don, what happened to your hair, brother? You look like Fulio.
It's been a long day.
Clearly it has. You must have been using them clippers that Greg threw away. So has that nigga Greg been in your house?
Oh, I don't use clippers, man.
Clearly you don't.
My locks.
Yeah, clearly not.
I gotta touch up my locks, man. Touch up my locks.
Clearly not. You said I don't use clippers. Obviously. What's on your mind, Don?
This is straight game goofy. You rule of the game, and I made an agreement with myself initially. You don't get your meat when you bake your bread. It's that simple. That's simple. And I was in law enforcement and I was in a position of control and authority. And I would never think to do something like that. I have too much integrity. And the game is like this. You never mess with anybody that has less to lose than you.
Nope. This is something that you learn over time. And like I said, that's a mistake that's a rookie mistake. That's a young man's mistake, is messing with somebody who doesn't have the same or more to lose than you. You don't never risk yourself for somebody who's got way less to lose. You don't do that in a fight. You don't do that at a job. You don't do that anywhere with somebody who they got less to lose than you do. They're going to be first out the gate because they know you got more to lose. So you're absolutely right. These are rookie mistakes, man. And the old dudes is making them. The old cats was making them.
That's the foolish part. It's like, this is who you have leading? Because these men are clearly immature. It's like, how you going to video and then show it to everybody? That's shameful. It's like, it takes a special kind of person to work in the porn industry, because first of all, you got to have somebody filming, but then your image is going out, and it's like these folks. I saw a video once where a black man was asked, by his white colleagues or whatever, about a jerk circle, and he's like, where they do that at?
Because
get down like that.
Because that's who's teaching these. See, Don, you and me done got too damn old. Because that's who's teaching these young cats about sex today. They're learning about sex from Pornhub, hell, Twitter. because they got triple X rated stuff on Twitter. They're learning about sex from the internet, and they are learning the normalization of it from the internet. Now, you and I both know, because we come from the damn magazine paper days of porn. So you and I understand that, everything was really just straight vanilla sex. Anything else was what we call fetish when you get into all this other stuff. Today, brother, there ain't no fetishes. There are no fetishes anymore. It's sex and that's it. So these are the fetish people who you and I knew as the fetish people. Those are who are educating them now. That's who's they're introducing them to sex. So when you talk about, wait a minute, we're having sex, but who is this dude in the room and why is he reaching down here trying to, and I saw it in a video somewhere.
I don't know. Was it you that did the show the statistics of the percentage of men that are actually engaged in sexual intercourse in the society?
Yeah. I've done a couple of videos. First of all, it's a broadcast. Don, damn it, don't make me slap you upside. Don't make me slap you upside your strand. Slap you upside your strands. But no, what it is and like I say, what it is these fellas out here today, they don't socialize. They don't have a point of reference. There's no father in the home to say, hey, what the hell you doing? Mama is either getting run through or AWOL because a woman cannot raise a boy to be a man. So she's just hoping for the best. They're happy if the sons are not having sex because they're like, well, he's not getting anybody pregnant. Well, yeah, but when he does get out there, if you think your daughter is bad, wait till they get done with him. Because Don, there's always a dude out there looking for some green booty that he can sit up here and break him in. Hey, you should try this. And he'll involve a female with it. It'll usually be a bisexual female. He'll involve a bisexual female with it. But I'm like, you and me be like, okay, well, when you leaving the room, though, that's okay. She here, when you leaving? And he's like, oh, I'm going to be right here. No, I'm not going to be here because, no, not you, me, and her in the same room. But these young fellas, they won't think about it the same way. And he's done completely lost track of this dude being there. Next thing you know, you got some other fella rubbing on you and stuff. So it goes from there, brother. That's the grooming. That's the grooming.
Right. I want to say this. I think you mentioned in your history that you worked in the auto industry, because I worked in the auto industry.
I have.
Yeah, and then so when I was working and they let females in, there was this bad Filipino chick who later went on to be in porn as a star and stuff. But she was trying to get at me. I was like, oh no, honey, you are not going to set me up to be named as a defendant in your sexual harassment lawsuit against this organization. I ain't the one. My cousin had it, but that's not me. I'm not that thirsty. I don't need to put myself at risk. Because the other thing is that you could have a whole criminal side to it. Oh, he raped me. It's like, nah, I'm good.
Brother, okay, because you and I understand, like at the workplace and whatnot, you and I were more concerned about something else. She gonna catch feelings. And you just trying to pass through, and as soon as there's another chick come by, it's like, hey, I got to make this move. Now she's going to be upset. That's the real reason you can't do it in the workplace, is not so much the criminal thing, of course, that's obvious an issue. But the other thing is this, bro, if she's catching feelings, she don't understand. It's like, hey, we move on. We rolling stones. And she's going to be like, oh, no, you belong to me. And soon as she sees that but for two reasons. Number one, she wants to feel like she got ownership. Number two, she don't want to feel like you just rolling through. She thought she was special. And you showed her, oh, you are not special. You as easy as we thought you were going to be. So we moving on. Now she's like, oh, I got to get some vengeance. Back to what you were saying here before. Another thing is, two dudes with one girl. Two dudes with one girl. Like I say, you see that all the time on pornography sites. They always guide you toward that. So what I'm saying to you is this idea that you're supposed to be engaging with a female with other males around in close proximity or in the room. For you and me, it was like, hey, this ain't my kind of party, no kind of way. But to these young cats, they walked in, that was their education walking in the door. It was side by side with everything else. Side by side with everything else. So they got to kind of just separate it out from everything. But that's the whole point. So now it's just if there's a female involved, they're willing to let another dude be in the room. Next thing you know, the other dude, you go from having a female and a dude in the room to the female said, let me go get a glass of water, and it's just you and him. That's as far as I'm gonna go with it. That's as far as I'm gonna go with it. But these young cats be sitting there with this dude making awkward conversation, and it's just like, okay, he's looking at you like a Subway sandwich. So I'm just saying this. That's what we got right now, man. That's their education. That's their introduction to sex. So what they go around doing is trying to replicate what they've seen on a website, as opposed to making a genuine connection to a person. So it ends up just being their turn. So they end up defining their masculinity and their manhood by who they laid up with, when in reality, the masculine move is telling her no. Telling her, hey, I said no, and I meant that. Maglioso and McGowan and Powell and Watson and everybody else done had it. I don't roll like that at all. Don't ask me for my number. Don't ask me to hang out with you. Don't ask me to do nothing. As a matter of fact, let me change shifts. That's how we would handle that.
How stupid would I look trying to go to a toxic dump site? That's just retarded. And this last thing I want to say is, y'all young brothers, y'all learning, like Jason was saying, y'all learning your education about sex from stuff that's staged and that's not even real. You know,
they're chosen people. Like I say, half the dudes are already bisexual or just straight up gay. And the females are all bisexual, every single one of them, every single one. So you're watching a staged environment that isn't actually analogous to the real world. But if y'all keep faking it long enough, you're going to start becoming it. If you keep faking it long enough, because you know how it is. That's the whole point of breaking somebody. All you got to do is let somebody do a little bit of something to you. And then next thing you know, you broke in. You broke in and that's it. You don't see yourself the same way. You don't see the situation the same way. And these are these young cats. There's no older cats letting them know, hey, this is what we do and this is what we don't do. There's no men in the home. The women are just letting ride whatever and they're just hanging on for dear life. And so the fellas are out here in the real world, and when it goes down, it goes down. Think about this for a few moments. There isn't a single solid man in the equation anywhere. Her husband knows what she do and is right there. They got an open relationship. I don't give a damn about no open relationship. Your wife is on the damn 6 o'clock news. She's on the 6 o'clock news. She is on CNN. Your wife is on CNN. This is not an open relationship. This is a broadcast network. This is not no open relationship. And you knew she was like that, but you like, okay, she crazy and extra freaky. Okay, well now y'all are famous and extra freaky. That's the issue. Now here comes the sergeants. Here come the lieutenants. Here come the patrol officers. Here comes the chief. So there wasn't a single solid masculine man in LaVerne, Tennessee, population 40,000. Not a single solid man who's like, hey, I don't get down like that. Everybody get down like that.
The dummies should have just went to a cop bar. That's all they needed to do was go to a cop bar. Anyway.
I think that wouldn't be the point. My issue is, because, Doc, you know me. Bruh, you know what's on your phone it's like the animal kingdom. What's on your phone is in captivity. If you send that picture to anybody, it's now out in the wild. You have no control whatsoever about where that's going, other than the personal integrity of the person who's got it. It's out in the wild. When Powell is sitting up here playing Steven Spielberg and taking pictures, and the first thing he does is send the damn pictures to Motormouth McGowan. And from there, everybody got it. McGowan didn't even wait. Hey, take a look at this. Hey, Chief, look, who put in her mouth? Who is that? The Lewin and Hall. Straight to the police chief. I mean, think about it. You sent it to him, and he's straight to everybody. So she didn't have to set him out. She understands something. She never went to human resources. She never filed a complaint. Now this is something we got to level with. She wasn't the one who went to human resources. She didn't file a complaint. McGowan did all the damn jaw jacking. He's the one who blew up the spot. She didn't actually say anything to anybody. She went to the hospital, and so far as we know, haven't found anything that says that she actually said anything to the hospital staff. McGowan, again. It went from Powell to McGowan to worldwide. So she isn't even the reason that we know. We know because McGowan. And McGowan was sharing literally everything you tell McGowan, everybody else gonna find out. Because that's what he do. And you're sitting there in the department and y'all trusting him and sending messages back and forth, knowing full well he can't shut up. The police chief, that's his right-hand man. The nigga that won't shut up. That's his right-hand man. That's the dude right there. Not somebody with some damn sense, but Motor Mouth McGowan. Yeah, no wonder this is why y'all all sitting on the breadline today, because this is the level of maturity you brought to it. So in reality, like I say, brother, I gotta call a spade a spade. There's only so far I can blame her for it. There's only so far. Do I believe everything she's saying? Hell to the no. But dude, you sitting up here, let me pass some pictures. Let me text some people. Hey, police chief, did you see this? Let me tell you, Don, that right there is grounds to get your wig split in half. That is grounds to get your teeth knocked out. For real. If you didn't tell him he can go show that to everybody, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? I done told you, and here you are out broadcasting? What you doing?
The thing is, he's worked with this man for a number of years, so he should have known the man's character and not share anything like that. That's a game ender. It's like, oh yeah, he can't keep his mouth shut. Yeah, I know.
With them knowing it.
That is definitely on him.
With them knowing it. Like I say, with them knowing that, because you know he done did stuff like this before. This wasn't his first time doing this. You know this is the way he lives. Why in the hell are we telling him anything? Why are we saying anything to him? And because you saw what happened, you said it to him and straight to the police chief. He didn't even wait. So straight to the police chief. You might as well put it in the newspaper, because that's where it's going to be. So that's what I'm saying, bro. It's like y'all knew he was like that and you fooling with him anyway. No wonder you knew she was like that and you fooling with him anyway. Bro, this level of gullibility, brother, this is Darwin's law. This is Darwinism. This is just Darwinism now. This is natural selection taking its course.
But the scary part is this. It's the individuals that we're talking about and their career positions in our society. That's the scary part. It's not like we're talking about a construction crew.
No, it's not like we're talking about a janitorial service. They got dogs and guns, and they can pull you over and shoot you. So let me get this straight. We got dogs and guns, canines, police units, and what do we have here? We got swingers, we got in-betweeners, we got this one fella up here thinks he's running the damn OnlyFans. Another one thinks he's running the Peep Show. The police chief is only upset because he can't get no action. Brother, this is like Reno 911. This is like Reno 911. It is like the real life Reno 911. That's literally what this is like. This is Reno 911. So I can't wait to look up the crime statistics in this town. I can't wait to look them up. I can't wait to see it. Can you imagine? You know what? You know what would be real scandalous? If they went and tracked down the times that these guys were doing that. Like on the days and times. Can you imagine if your house was getting broke into while Powell is at the damn jiu-jitsu dojo with Hall? You'd be mad as a son of a gun. Your house done got broke into and he's at the damn jiu-jitsu hall with Hall. Your house done got broke into. He's taking her in the backseat of his Bronco. Meanwhile, your mama getting busted over the head by somebody. He's in the backseat of the Bronco with her. McGowan can't wait for a damn thing. They sitting up here cutting off your catalytic converters, and McGowan is sitting up here at the substation begging her for some sex while they ripping the catalytic converters off your truck. I'll let you have the last word.
Last word is, old fools teaching young fools. And I really appreciate your broadcast and all of the diligence. It is not only informative, but it is entertaining. And with that, have a good night.
Thank you very much for joining us, dear Don. Please do give us a call again. It's my man Don checking in. Let me get caller from area code 214. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from? Okay, caller from 214. I don't know what they're doing, but let me go ahead and take their number down since apparently they are not sure if they want to talk. So let me just make sure, just in case they need a wellness check. You need a wellness check. I don't know. Which officer should I send for that? Which officer should I send for that? I think he needs a wellness check, but I'm not sure which officer I should send. I got an inkling here, but I'm not sure which officer I want to send to him. Trying to help him out, but I don't know. Yeah, you don't want to know what we got left. The second shift has all been fired. You don't want to know what's left. The fella who drives the food truck, yeah, he's on second shift now. One of the cleaning ladies, she on second shift now. So you sure you want to risk that wellness check? Well, call the paramedics. Did you know what one of the paramedics was doing? Did you know one of the paramedics was involved in the aforementioned incident? Folks, it's a mad, mad world. It is a mad, mad world. And fellas, if you want to know why this is even more insane right now, it is because of things like this. I want to take this opportunity tonight to go ahead and go line by line through the lawsuit there, through all the pertinent parts of it, so you all can hear with your own ears exactly what occurred, or at least what she claims, how she heard it and how it occurred. So you can understand this is the real damn world. Any of you could find yourself in that situation here tomorrow. Fellas, raise the standards, raise the standards. We can't have this. Raise the standards, man. If you're around a bunch of fellas with no standards, just recognize they are not an annoyance. They are deadly. Fellas with no standards are not just an annoyance. They're dangerous. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here. If you are new here to the business, welcome to the program that all your favorite by the way, let me deal with this right quick. So everybody and their mama is asking what happened to Friday's program. For those of you who are not aware, YouTube targets my channel, so you all know I'm a constant target of harassment by YouTube. I took the program down because there were a couple of things that happened in the program that I'll post the program, but they got to be edited out. For example, there was a caller who called up and there was a minor who was on screen. My other YouTube channel got dinged for that, even though we had the minor there with their lawyer filing the lawsuit for the minor. So YouTube is just playing dirty games. It's illegal. They know it. It's not against their guidelines. It's illegal. They're just doing what they want to do. But there was a minor, if you'll remember, involved in that program. So I took the thing down. So I've actually uploaded her call. So if you go ahead and take a look into the videos here on the channel, you'll actually see that I've uploaded her call in particular. By the way, a master class. You fellas out here was listening for years to a bunch of people who told you that they knew what was going on. If you want to watch a master class on turning things around that adhere to the rules of salesmanship that I taught you all, there's a master class that goes on that video, so I recommend you go ahead and watch that. Sit back, soak it up, learn. No passport required. So I'll get the rest of it edited so we can go ahead and get that uploaded as well here. But I just wanted to let you know that's what's happened. So it's coming. Don't worry. Be patient. If you are new here to the business, welcome to the program that all of your favorite YouTubers love to hate watch. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't joined our Patreon, you definitely want to go ahead and sign up for that. You get to talk to me one-on-one for a longer period of time. So definitely a more welcoming environment for that. So go ahead and join us for that as well. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, CashApp, Super Chat, Venmo. Thank you very much for your support as well. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Business. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, handle your business or your business will handle you.